Mhm. I don't know. Try and do this because it's like, what the fuck? I think because since it's using this, I don't. Maybe I can invite. Maybe I can. Well, maybe I could invite. Try this. It keeps. Right. I can't fucking hear anything. to make sure.
Hey, Zach, how are you?
Oh, hey, what's going on?
Are we live right now, or has it not started yet?
Hold on, I'm gonna make it live. I'm gonna make it live on my end right now. Let's see. The Flame Liberation joins Zach the Celtics guy in a very Zach the Celtics guy in a very special talk slash of in a very special talk event. Liberation joins us. Okay, all right, let's try this now. All right, so sounds like you can hear me, so
Yep.
okay. All right. All right. Well, I'm live on here. Even though I have to record it on OBS, but you know, I have to record it on OBS and record through here because this is the way my comrade the Flame Liberation said that it would be best for him to do it on. So as a result, I've decided I'm gonna have it on here because this is the way. So,
Great to be on.
Yeah, great to be on with you as well. I think this is the first time we've ever done a live episode. So,
Yeah, that's right. You've done live streams where I'm in your chat, and I've done live streams when you're in my chat, but we've never actually done a live stream together. So yeah, it's good to be on. I always appreciate your channel, how you rip various Zionists and imperialists and various grifters to shreds, and in a very entertaining and unique way. I like the colorful language you use to describe some of these scumbags and pieces of shit, as you like to call them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how I do it. Yeah, that's exactly how I do it. And just for the thumbnail, I'm just gonna put your channel on here. That way, people will know who you are. Just as like a little thumbnail. So
Okay, cool.
Just as a little thumbnail, and it's just to be used for just for the title purposes, of course. So
I'm going to share this on my channel as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't share it on my Twitter page because Elon Muskrat took down my Twitter back in July.
Oh yeah, that fucking scumbag. Yeah, I've been going off on him like no tomorrow. And others, of course, because he's a complete piece of fucking shit. And there's no question he banned you off of Twitter for that X for that reason. There's no question about it. They absolutely did. Like that fucking X really screwed you.
Yeah, really, and he really destroyed Twitter, because I don't even like to call it X because that's his little name. He came up with it, so screw him. I'm just gonna keep calling it Twitter. But
call it Twitter. I have no respect for him. But yeah.
You look at what other people do on there, like what the Zionists do. They literally dox people, they threaten people, they harass people. They use racist language, they throw around the N-word, all kinds of, Nazi propaganda, all kinds of stuff, like actual Nazi propaganda. But if you criticize Israel, you criticize Zionism, you support Palestinian right to defend themselves. Oh, nope, that's not allowed.
Oh no, you can't do that. Or if you tell a warmongering scumbag like Mike Pompeo to go play in busy traffic, I guess that's considered inciting violence or some shit. Even though I'm just telling him where to go.
Even though Elon Musk actually, he did a tweet, which I heard that this got him into some trouble. He did a tweet actually kind of inciting violence, which could be, you could definitely interpret it as a call for assassinating Biden or Kamala Harris. He said something like, in response to the assassination attempts on Trump, he said, and no one has even tried to assassinate Biden and Kamala. Basically, in a way, you could definitely take that as him saying that, why aren't people trying to? People should try and do that. And yeah, imagine if someone said that about, Netanyahu or some, prominent Zionist. Oh, it would be terrorism.
Oh, especially. Oh yeah, especially it'd be terrorism. It'd be genocide. It would be terrorism, genocide, all these bad things, using all these fucking stupid, retarded buzzwords like, oh yeah, it's that, it's this, it's that, it's terrorism, man. It's evil.
Yeah. And, I don't know if you remember this, when did Elon Musk, he took over Twitter, what was it, the end of 2022 or early 2023, something around there?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe the middle of 2023.
Yeah. And around then, there was all this talk of these so-called alt media people like Jimmy Dore types. And I know you still, to some extent, you still like him. I know, you're aware of some of his issues. You're not like fully on board with him, but you still like some of his stuff from what I understand. But people like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that it?
Oh yeah, no, I've been critical on him. Yeah, I've been critical of him on multiple different occasions. I have. Oh, trust me.
Good.
I'm not a cultist. I'm not a cultist when it comes to anything. When it comes to anybody, I'll say it. I don't care. It's like I don't care how long I've supported shit, or I've supported this one or that one's like channel or whatever. It's like I don't give a fuck. I'll call them out no matter how long. It's like I don't care if they gave me. I don't care if they gave me $50. I don't care if they gave me money. It don't matter. That's my thing.
Yeah. No, but a lot of people like him and people around him, there's this sort of I guess you could say alt media echo chamber sort of around Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore is kind of like the biggest one. And then there's these other channels that are kind of smaller that are around it. And he kind of like puts out the videos and they all kind of parrot the same thing. All of them were kind of echoing this thing like, oh, Elon Musk, he's an interesting guy. He's going to be different. Oh, it's going to be good for freedom of speech. He's against the establishment. And I was, then I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any, I didn't even have to see what he was going to do in control of Twitter. You already know he's a billionaire. You already know he comes from apartheid South Africa, and his wealth comes from the fact that his parents were rich white South Africans that were exploiting the black South Africans, and that's where he got his wealth from. And he was already with Tesla, very anti-union. So and he's a billionaire. So all of this stuff, we already knew that he wasn't going to be good. And then when he got in, it was just proven. It's kind of like Trump in the same way. A lot of people. And I think to some extent in the 2016 election, there's more ground to stand on because he wasn't in office yet. So I think a lot of people could legitimately have thought in 2016, I think it's a mistake, but nonetheless, they'd have more more of a leg to stand on back then to say, let's give him a chance. He's saying all these things, anti-establishment things. Let's give him a chance. But at this point, it's beyond the pale to fall for it anymore. But it's sort of a similar thing to that, I guess.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
By the way, you see this little thing on the screen, this Streamyard thing? You could get rid of that, I think. On the side, I think there's in like the chat options.
Oh, I can. Oh, I don't know how. I don't even remember the last time I've ever done this. It's been like forever since I've done this. So let me see.
you could highlight comments from the various people in the chat as well, and it'll pop up like how that popped up.
Yeah, I'm actually pre-recording this through OBS like I usually do. It's like funny. It's like my OBS is screen recording this. That's how it's being done at the moment. So it's kind of like you're looking at it through here. That's like the best way to do it right now. But hey, it accommodates you and it accommodates me. So and hey, I mean I can't complain about that.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah,
and we kind of put this together really quick. I mean, we were talking about it for a while, but we kind of put it together real quick. So it's good.
We did. Yeah, it's all good, even if we did, because like I've been working the graveyard shift. I slept like all day yesterday, including most of today as well. So
yeah, well, it's good that we were finally able to make this happen. One of the main things I think we were going to talk about was, and we could talk about all different stuff, a lot of different topics we could talk about. One of the big things we were going to talk about was the that thing where there was some local elections, and I don't even remember the names of them. Kelly Ayotte and someone else.
Yeah,
you put out a video on that, and you've changed your view on that, and
yeah, and more like what I did was it was more of like a counter type thing where I was just like, because trust me, the people that are running where I live, I'm not very amused with how they're doing things at the moment. And so when I saw this, it kind of made me jump on board with this. It's like, oh, Kelly Ayotte's calling out more Helio. This must be something. And then that's the reason. But I know Artero wasn't too happy with some of it, but I think he realized that I kind of saw a different side. And I think because when Artero was on my live stream the last time, I think it was either the last one or the one before my last one, he actually came in. He was like very cordial with me. He wasn't holding things against me. I was kind of just counter reacting, but also kind of just doing my own thing as well.
That's good. Oh wait, so you see on your screen where it has on the right part of the screen, you see where it has the Streamyard, that blue rectangle where it says Streamyard live viewers. I think if you click on that, it'll go away from the screen.
Let me see if I can do that. I don't know if I can. Or hide.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, right. So I think I know where you're coming from with that, where it's kind of like the Democrat is so horrible, right?
Yeah.
You see someone who's against them, and sort of on an emotional level, because the Democrat is so horrible and corrupt, you kind of want to get behind whoever is against them, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You got it. You said it. You said it even better than I could have said it, bro. You said it. You said it right there. See, like you said it right there. Like you got it right. You got it right then and there.
Because I get that, but I think this is a good example and maybe a learning experience, because this is a mistake that I think a lot of people make. And, I may have made this mistake to some extent. In the past, I think, say 2022, I may have been somewhat sympathetic to like Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene, especially early on 2022 when there was the outbreak of the Ukraine-Russia stuff, the war. And they were starting to say stuff counter to the overwhelming, at that point, again, it was overwhelming, the Ukraine stuff. Like, it was unavoidable. It was literally everywhere. So it's easy to like fall into, okay, these are people that are, they're saying they're against the Democrats, right? So I fell into that myself. But I think this is a good example, because it shows that actually in a lot of cases, even though the Democrat is completely horrible and should be opposed, it's a big mistake to support the Republican, because the Republican, especially in this example, is, again, I can't speak to every single example, where there's a Democrat versus a Republican. But in this case, the Republican is like, and again, some people may misinterpret this as like, oh, being soft on the Democrat. I'm not. I'm again saying the Democrat is horrible too and should be opposed and not supported. Mm-hmm. But I think in this case, if you look at Kelly Ayotte, like her record, and this is someone I was just totally unaware of until, there's the incident on your video. I saw Arturo did the video and I'm like, what is this even about? I never heard of this person, So I listened to it and I'm like, wow, this person, Kelly Ayotte, is a real piece of shit. Like, not just, so she's like an extreme Zionist. And I assume maybe you weren't aware of, these various.
I wasn't that privy on some of the stuff. But like I said, Arturo did make that video, but him and I are cool now. Like he came on my last stream of the stream before that, and him and I are perfectly fine now.
That's very good. Yeah. And I'm glad to hear that. Because I think he realized you're coming from a good place. You're definitely not a grifter or anything. You're not like one of these. I would consider Jimmy Dore a grifter, and a lot of these other RBN and them grifters. But you, I would definitely say you're not a grifter at all. I think you just maybe jumped to that position. But I think this is a good example, though, because it really shows how the sort of tendency of people like Jimmy Dore and others, where it's like, oh, because the Democrats are bad, we're gonna, ally with Republicans and stuff. But when you look at like the actual policies, like Kelly Ayotte, for example, she foreign policy and domestic policy. Like I was like looking at it, it's like, wow, this is almost like a caricature of like the worst, most like. I would describe her as like an establishment extremist. She's like against domestically. She's extremely anti-worker, anti-union, like against raising the minimum wage, against unions, for raising Social Security retirement age. So basically making it more difficult for people to retire, so they have to work when they're older. Is a complete extremist Zionist, one of these people who thinks Biden is like not giving enough to Israel and that Biden and the Democrats are anti-Semitic, this BS.
Oh yeah, that bullshit, yeah.
And her record going back further, she was like against pulling troops out of Iraq, just everything you could imagine, just complete garbage. So I think this is a really good case where it demonstrates like how both parties are just complete garbage, and we're not going to get someone out of either party that has really anything to offer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely see I definitely see your point on that for sure. I really do.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to electoral politics, anyone who, like, especially after the AOC phenomenon, that was an example. I remember when it happened, and I remember thinking, I actually met AOC in 2017 at a Bernie event that I went to. I didn't go to many. That was like one of the only. I think I only went to that one and then another one. And I went to a couple in 2019. I didn't go to that many, but I met her briefly. I actually shook her hand and spoke with her 2017. And she was saying some very anti-establishment stuff. And she was basically aligned with Jimmy Dore type politics. And back then, that's when Jimmy Dore was a lot better than he is now. He's like basically supporting Trump, which is absolutely insane. Back then, he was basically saying,
"I'm like, what are you doing?" Like,
Back then, he was criticizing the, like, to the extent he took it, he would say that Trump is only a symptom of the problem, which indicates that Trump is still bad. He's not saying Trump is good, but he's saying there's still a bigger system outside. It's not just Trump. But now he's taken it to where it's like, actually, you know what? Trump isn't so bad, actually.
It's like, like Trump is it's like, like Trump's the anti-war one or some shit. I'm just like, the fuck?
Yeah,
I'm just like, my position is the same thing. He is the symptom, not the disease. That's actually where I stand on that position as well. Well, my position is the exact same on that. actually, that he is the symptom, not the disease. And the reason I get so pissed off now, see, I may critique the Democrats a lot harsher nowadays, but the reason is because I'm just more disappointed and pissed, not even disappointed, I'm just like pissed off at this point with them, because they always claim to be the progressive, good, we're going to be the good ones, we're going to get things done, we're going to do this, we're going to do that,
right?
And
yep.
then what do? It's like they act like that, they act like they have like this cute little fucking thing on them, and then, but at least the Republicans, they at least show you what they're about. It's like Trump shows you what he's about. Fucking Ron fucking DeSantis, he shows you what he's about. You see Greg Abbott, other neocon pieces of shit. They at least show you what they're about. They show what they're about. But the Democrats, that's why like they've ticked me off because like their rhetoric is so like they try to act like they're so good, but yet beneath the scenes they're just like the Republicans.
Right, and I think the biggest thing that really exposed them, because one of the differences, I guess you could say, between the Democrats and the Republicans is that the Republicans rely a lot more on racism. Now, the Democrats, too, when it comes to a systematic issue, I mean, Joe Biden, he bragged about the Biden crime bill, how, it's so he was so brutal. He increased the ability of the U.S. government to execute people for various crimes.
Probably just stupid shit.
Yeah, not even like, serious like murders or stuff like that. Like, I don't remember all the details, but he bragged about this. And basically what that is the Biden crime bill overall, it increased the prison industrial complex, aka the war against black people, oppression of black people in this country. Let's remember that the U.S. has more people in prison than any other country in the world, even China, which has a way bigger population. So, and we know that there's the racist component to the prison industrial complex, where a disproportionate amount of black people are in prison. So the Democrats, they're definitely, the way their racism operates, it's more subtle, it's more systemic. With the Republicans, it's more, they have the systemic racism as well, but then they have another component, which is sort of the using racism as a form of faux populism, and which is actually quite dangerous. And this is something that, again, like the Jimmy Dore sphere, I wouldn't, Jimmy Dore left, you could call it, even though now I don't even know if they use the term left, but Jimmy Dore left-right alliance, I guess you could say, they're very silent. They're pretty silent, or if they mention it, they're pretty mild in their criticism of it. This latest thing of Trump and J.D. Vance talking about Haitian immigrants supposedly eating cats and dogs, where there's no evidence whatsoever. The community that they're talking about, actually, interestingly enough, they're legal immigrants to this country. So that begs the question, because the Republicans like to say, oh, I'm against illegal immigration, I'm for legal immigration. But this is a case where it's legal immigrants in a community. I wonder what their issue is with them. It's obviously because they're black.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder. And by the way, that fucking thing was so fucking ridiculous about the fucking eating cats and like that thing was so fucking ridiculous that even a right-wing fucking radio host, Michael Savage, even came out and said that's ridiculous. Even he fucking said that. Like even he came out and said that. And of course you could see what the others would say, right? Like then that MAGA cult side would turn on him and say, "Oh, how dare you? You're selling out to the Democrats." And I'm just like sitting here, "Oh man, this popcorn is really good, man."
Yeah, let them fight. Michael Savage, he's another one. I haven't heard anything about him in a long time. I almost forgot that. I didn't even know he was still doing stuff. Because I know of some of his stuff, years ago. Like really, his main shtick that I've seen is like his ultra Zionism and Islamophobia. Maybe if they were Muslim migrants, he'd get behind it. But because the Haitians are, predominantly Christian, he didn't want to get behind it.
What I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Oh no, I remember back in 2006 when he sparked an international. He sparked an international uproar when he said like, "Oh, 1,000,000 Muslims killed 900,000 of them or something," and he said that, and it's just like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah, he's
Like,
nuts. But it says a lot that he's saying this is crazy bullshit.
Yep. Yeah,
but,
even he's saying that.
But yeah, my broader point is that, the Democrats, they have the systemic racism, but then the Republicans, they have this other element of racism, more open racism, and like this is inciting vigilante racism, where that community, they had to shut down schools and shut down all kinds of things because they're getting bomb threats. And people like Jimmy Dore, people like I don't mean to keep bringing him up, but Jimmy Dore, I saw a video. To his credit, he did criticize Trump and JD Vance for saying this, but he criticized them like saying, "Oh, this is stupid. Why are you doing this?" He's not like, could you imagine if a Democrat did this? He would be like ranting and he'd be railing against them. But it's like he's like very mildly criticizing them, saying, "Oh, this is stupid. It's bad optics. It's not smart." Not that this is criminal and that this is racist, just that, oh, it's not smart. This is a losing strategy.
Yeah, that's been my biggest issue with him as of late. It's like, okay, look, I'm very tough when it comes to the Democrat, but it's like, why can't you do the same thing when it comes to the neocons? Do the exact same thing when it comes to them. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
that's the thing where I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't.
And he used to be good, like I said, and like we were talking about before. He used to be pretty even-handed when it came to the Democrats and Republicans. Like I said, during the Trump years, he would say Trump is a symptom of the problem. So therefore, Trump is a problem. He's not saying that Trump is good or anything, but he's pointing out that he's not the only problem and that it's the broader system that's the problem, which includes both the Democrats and Republicans. And it's very sad to see the direction he's gone in. I think, honestly, it is a grift for him because, I mean, he used to joke all the time, and people used to assume it was a joke. You probably remember he would always joke, like he'd be talking about I think he'd be talking about Chris Hayes or someone else who's like an establishment shill, TYT or someone. He'd be like, and he'd say stuff like, and they gave them money and they sold out. And I would sell out too. If they offered me the position, I would sell out too, just like them. But no one's offering me.
Even a joke about that is not a good. That's not a good one.
And everyone would laugh, assuming it was a joke. But the crazy thing is that it was actually true. He wasn't even joking.
Okay, the thing that pissed me off the most about that was when he had fucking Candace Owens on, and Candace Owens was allowed to repeat that fucking racist, far-right, extreme fucking lie about George Floyd having fentanyl in his system, which is a complete fucking lie. It's a complete fucking right-wing extreme fucking hoax and whatnot. And she repeated that bullshit, and Jimmy Dore just sat by like, huh, what? Oh, okay. It's like, the fuck? Like, you're gonna sit here and repeat this fucking racist cop bullshit? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And then you're gonna
sit here and let that happen? Like, the fuck? I was pissed about that. I was fucking pissed about that.
And then he, like a smart ass, goes, sarcastically implying that this isn't the case. Like, oh, why do you just hate black people? Like, basically, you get what he's doing there. He's like saying, you're not racist. You don't hate black people.
Yeah.
By saying, he's like sarcastically saying, why do you just hate black people? And then they all laugh. It's like, no, actually, she's saying stuff. She could be black, but she's saying stuff that is very.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just like, yeah, see, even someone in my comments, a longtime fan of my guy, Scotty Boy, he said, oh God, Candace Owens is ridiculous. Yeah. Now, to her credit, I am glad that she saw the light. I'm glad she saw the light when it comes to piss rail and everything, but on the other stuff, I can't now. On the other thing, I'm sitting here like.
And when it comes to the piss reel thing, it's interesting, and in a sense, good. Good. Let her and the Zionists fight. Let them, like, again with the Michael Savage and the MAGA people, let them fight. Because for her, it's not because she cares about Palestinians. For her, it's because oh, traditional values, and she's actually taken it pretty extreme to saying like the Jews are against
Yeah,
Christian
that's
traditional values. And in that interview with Jimmy Dore, the worst thing, I was going to do a video on this. I was actually had a lot of it recorded, but then there was the assassination attempt, the first assassination attempt against Trump, and everything just went off everything went crazy. So I never ended up uploading it because by that point, I'm like, I'm not going to upload this now because everyone's talking about the Trump thing and this would be so irrelevant that would make no sense to post it. And then once the Trump story dies down, Biden drops out. And by that point, it's like weeks after the incident happened with Candace Owens and Jimmy Dore. So I never ended up uploading this. I may upload it in the future, which is in that interview. I think the George Floyd thing was horrible.
Oh yeah, I was fucking pissed.
But there was even more crazy stuff. She was promoting literal Nazi, anti-Soviet, anti-communist Nazi propaganda, and Jimmy Dore is sitting there nodding along like, oh, you don't say there's this Jewish communist guy and he murdered more people than Hitler. Why? You don't say. Like,
oh yeah, I saw that. I'm just like, what are you fucking, aren't you supposed to be a socialist, my nigga? What are you talking about? I saw that. Yeah, that was another thing. I was fucking oh yeah, that was so ridiculous.
Yeah, and she's going in on depth this literal Nazi propaganda, talking about how, the Bolsheviks were Jews, and they committed a genocide against Christians, and they actually killed more people than the Nazis did. So that's interesting what the implication is there, trying to say, actually, Hitler, he didn't kill as many people as the Jews killed. So maybe in that case, maybe you see what she's doing there, sort of like trying to justify. It's like, well, they killed them first and they killed more people. So therefore, maybe according to her, you basically get what she's trying to imply there. And Jimmy Dore, it's amazing. Jimmy Dore is sitting there nodding along, basically saying, wow, I've never heard of this. Why aren't we taught about this? Really? People, maybe the framing of like fixating on this one guy who happened to be Jewish, maybe that's not talked about because it's an idiotic thing to talk about. But are you kidding me? You've never heard that, the anti-communist lies? Everyone is inundated that communism has supposedly killed millions and millions and millions of people. This is literally promoted everywhere. It's just that they don't talk about the Jewish thing because that's Nazi propaganda. And by the way, in that video, I was going to debunk, because this is a common lie you hear a lot with like conspiracy circles and various online circles. They talk about, how the Bolsheviks...
Yeah, exactly. How could he agree with that? Exactly, Scotty. How could he agree with that? But yeah, keep going. Yeah.
They say like, the Bolsheviks were Jewish. I was going to debunk that as well, because that's a complete lie. Less than 10% of the Bolsheviks were even Jewish. So this is just a complete ridiculous lie. It was invented by the Tsar, because the Tsar, before the Russian Revolution, the Tsar promoted anti-Jewish conspiracy theories to maintain power. They would say, there's issues, oppression of, people, the oppressive Tsarist system, famines and such, and, poverty of the peasantry in the country.
That fucking bullshit. It's so funny you mentioned this, because on my last stream, I was saying the same thing. I was like, dude, anti-communists are some of the dumbest motherfuckers imaginable. It's like, not even people that are just like, I don't agree with it, it's not my philosophy, whatever. It's like, that's okay. I acknowledge it's not going to be everyone's philosophy. Everybody's going to have a different philosophy for their own reason. But it's those people. It's not people that are just like, hey, I don't agree with it. That's not my philosophy, whatever. Like, that's fine. It's those people that act like, oh my God, it is so fucking evil. Oh my God. It's like you're sitting there like fucking Mermaid Man, like fucking evil. It's like you're sitting there like that fucking bullshit. It's like, no, that's not. No, that's just fucking bullshit. This whole 100 million people were killed by communism is such fucking dog shit.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I was saying that, like, dude, like these hardcore anti-communists are some of the dumbest motherfuckers imaginable.
Yeah, and this is an example. There's a lot of overlap between the anti-communist, like the more standard anti-communism, like what we're taught in U.S. schools and U.S. mainstream media, and like overt Nazi propaganda. The only really the only difference is that the the Nazis will say, "Oh, they were all Jews that did it. The Bolsheviks were all Jews," which is a complete lie. It was a small percentage. Oh, and by the way, so in this interview with Jimmy Dore, they focused on this one leader of the NKVD. NKVD was the predecessor to the KGB. His name was Yagoda. He happened to be Jewish. That's true. But he actually ended up getting purged by Stalin. So this whole thing where they want to hyper-focus on him, they're hyper-focusing on a guy who was in his position for a few years, and then Stalin ended up getting rid of him. So wouldn't they be sympathetic to Stalin then because he got rid of this guy they're saying was so bad?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
It's so idiotic. These Nazi and anti-communist, they're idiots. And I agree. And I agree with you. Not everyone, has to, you could have disagreements with communist ideology, but the difference is if you have like actual disagreements with it, you don't have to make things up. Like you can actually have disagreements, maybe, for whatever. There's different philosophical or political reasons you could have disagreements with it, but you don't have to make stuff up. But no, going back to what I was saying before, yeah, the whole thing about Judeo-Bolshevism, that propaganda line, that was started by the Tsar because it was useful. All the failures of the Tsarist Empire, they would just point to, it's the Jews, and then they'd instigate like pogroms against Jews who had nothing to do with anything, and that would be their way of maintaining their system. Getting rid of anger in society. They'd use the Jews as a scapegoat for that, and the Nazis continue that. And during the Russian Revolution, they tried to connect the revolutionary organizations to Jews again, trying to distract from their own failures and try and make it about Jews. And interestingly about that, they want to make it about Jews. These same people, they believe like, the Jews control the world. They control the British Empire. They control America. Well, certainly Zionism emanated from the British Empire and now the U.S. But let me ask this: if the Soviets were supposedly a Jewish conspiracy, and America and the British were a Jewish conspiracy, and the Tsar, he was not a part of a Jewish conspiracy. He was against the Jewish conspiracy, supposedly. Why is it that America and England and France, all these Western countries that the Nazi people say is controlled by the Jews, why did they invade Soviet Russia during the Russian Civil War and fight against the Bolsheviks on the side of the Tsarists?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like what? It's like, why twist shit around? That's the thing. Why you see those people trying to twist shit around for their own fucking narrative?
Yeah, it's complete idiocy. And that's why I think, now you see a lot of these right-wing people starting to criticize Israel. And, if they want to criticize Israel, that's good. Let them criticize Israel. But they're really coming at it from, and again, if they want to criticize Israel, I'm not going to stop, I'm not going to get in their way. And, good for them if that on that one issue they want to, but we really can't have an alliance with them unless, we can discuss and debate with them and maybe win them over. But if they're promoting this idea of like, the Jews run the world, and that
whole thing, I'm just like, fuck? No, I can't. No.
And those types of people, they don't actually really give a damn about Palestinians. And if you get down to it, they'll say, actually, I don't really like the Palestinians or the Jews. I don't really like, they don't like either. And they're pretty racist and anti-Arab as well. And those types of people, they're not motivated by, looking at what's happening in Gaza. They're motivated by, because it's mixed in, it's part of this white nationalist ideology. It's because the United States isn't as segregated as it used to be. And they want to blame, a conspiracy about that. So that's why they don't like, they want to point to Jews as the scapegoat for that. And they're coming about it from and like they're coming about it from
for all the wrong reasons, for all the stupidest bullshit reasons. That's the thing I don't get from them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it's those things. So yeah, that there are certain channels I'm just like I can't. There are some that I'm just like, yeah, but yeah, of course, right, exactly, Scott. You point that out, you'd be considered. Yeah, but remember that they call everyone else far right and everything. It's like, that there is some sectors of the Democrats that will call others far right, of course, even though that's just like not even the fucking case.
Yeah, well, it's funny because the Democrats are right wing themselves.
Oh, of course they are. They are. They 100% are.
And you know how now they're talking about Project 2025? Now, don't get me wrong. I think Project 2025 is horrible. It's extremely, not just the social stuff, but on the economic stuff, it's extremely anti-working class, anti-union.
Yep.
Also for cracking down on freedom of speech. It's horrible on many, many different, it's insane. But it's really disingenuous for the Democrats to say, oh, that's why you need to vote for us. The Democrats are partially responsible for Project 2025. The reason being is because the Democrats, ever since the end of the Cold War, ever since Clinton, the Democrats have been moving further and further and further to the right, which therefore that allows the Republicans to also move further and further to the right. So, of course, this is the logical conclusion of the Democrats' policy of abandoning the working class, moving further and further to the right, neoliberalism.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
So the Democrats, again, the Democrats and the Republicans are, and again, I'm not downplaying this. Some people downplay the dangers of Project 2025. No, it is horrible.
Oh yeah, it's really fucked up. Yeah, it's really fucked
up. The idea that voting for the Democrats is the solution, that's half of the reason why we're having this issue to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's almost like the two-party system is trying to, it's literally like the two-party system is trying to outright wing each other. Just like you see these ones that are trying to out-Zionist each other. I mean, I think Zionism is fucking far right anyway, but it's like they're trying to do that with each other is what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and it's insane now. Biden and Kamala Harris are literally responsible for this genocide going on. Insane level of genocide. Israel just one-ups itself it seems every couple of days or every couple of weeks in their depraved, bloodthirsty massacres of children and everyone in Gaza. And now they're trying to start a war in Lebanon because they're expansionist extremists who want to, create their so-called Greater Israel. The Democratic Party, Biden, they're giving them unlimited weapons to do this. Just keep writing checks to them, sending weapons, more weapons, and more weapons. Oh, they're killing civilians. We're concerned about that. We're going to look into it. But here's some more guns and bombs for you to keep doing it.
Yep, here's more to fucking murder more Palestinian children.
But then you got, but then you got Trump saying, "Oh, Biden, he's like a Palestinian." First of all, what does that even mean? First of all, that's like a
compliment. What does that mean, you fucking moron? It's like what a fucking.
That's reason. That should be a compliment. Saying that someone is like a Palestinian, that's a compliment, if anything. That's not. He's using it like it's a negative thing. But the guy who is unleashing Israel to commit genocide against Palestinians is like a Palestinian. He went so far as to also say Chuck Schumer of all people has become a Palestinian. So it's like, again, they want to one-up each other. It's like the Democrats are ultra-Zionists and Trump is like, previously Trump was the most extreme Zionist president. So Trump is like, hey, they're stealing my thunder. I gotta say this insane stuff to act like they're not the Zionists that they are. And now he's saying how like,
it's like I have to say that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now he's saying like, oh, Jewish people can't vote for the Democrats. If Jewish people vote for the Democrats, it's going to be a disaster, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's really insane how they just it's like a train with no brakes. You know, they just keep getting both parties. They just keep encouraging each other to be worse and worse on basically everything.
Yeah, more and more psychotic. That's what this fucking two-party system is. That is literally what this two-party system is. They're trying to out-Zionist each other. Trump acts like Kamala Harris isn't loyal to Israel enough. Biden's not loyal to Israel enough. This one ain't loyal to Israel enough. Not this one. And then, what is it? What's he gonna do? Anyone thinks that? He's gonna put a stop to Israel. It's like, the fuck? Are we forgetting that this fucking orange motherfucker literally moved the embassy over to Jerusalem, did more Zionist shit that even others wouldn't even do? That's
100% right.
And, oh my fucking God. It's like, and then trying to start shit with Iran and all these others, and trying to start fucking wars with this one and that one over fucking Israel. It just, we're ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really, again, Jimmy Dore, he's going to be one of the culprits we keep going back to, unfortunately. Yeah. He put out a video, and it's insane, because if there's anything, like, okay, maybe the Ukraine-Russia thing, I don't think you could say that Trump was any better, but I think you could maybe try to make an argument that, well, he got along better with Putin. So, maybe, again, he wouldn't be better on the Ukraine thing, but there's I could see how someone could try to make that argument. But Jimmy Dore put out a video, and this was so disingenuous, he knew he was lying. He uploaded an old video of Trump talking about Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinian Authority, and Netanyahu, and Trump saying vaguely, I think the Palestinians wanted to make a deal, and Netanyahu, he didn't want to make a deal. This is from years and years ago, and Trump, Jimmy Dore is posting that as if he said it right now, and as if this proves that Trump is waking up to Israel and he's going to stand up to Israel. He's deliberately taking an old video out of context and posting it now, number one. And number two, yeah, Trump said that, but what was his actual actions? He was the most Zionist president. Like you said, he recognized Jerusalem as the so-called capital of Israel, which is something that previous presidents were too scared to do. He recognized the Syrian Golan Heights as supposed Israeli territory.
Oh, yeah, just complete fucking Zionist warmongering shit. But yeah.
Yeah, he increased the war against Syria. He increased the war against Yemen. Shortly after coming into office, he killed she was like 6 years old or something, Yemeni girl in a drone strike. Just horrible, horrible stuff. And Netanyahu actively supports Trump over Biden. It's absolutely insane for anyone. Like, no one can believe that Trump is somehow going to be, like, if there's any issue that we know 110% what Trump's position is going to be and what it was, it's on Zionism. On that field he was the most extreme of anyone. Now, that's not to say the Democrats are good at all. We're seeing what they're doing now, and how they haven't reversed any of Trump's policies. We see that the Democrats are obviously no better, but the idea that somehow Trump is going to, this is absolutely insane. And I don't think it's out of ignorance. I think people who promote this know what they're doing, and they're just trying to create whatever argument they can to basically support Trump, even though they know it's not true.
Yeah, I think they're really just trying to use it for their own benefit. Or some type of bullshit. I really think that they're trying to use it for their own narrative or whatever, for their own bullshit, and I don't understand why do it. It's totally disingenuous, and there's no reason whatsoever to be doing that.
Yeah. Oh, another point I wanted to mention earlier.
Yeah, please do. Feel free.
About the Democrats, as far as the Democrats also being racist, and this is perfect because it's connected to Palestine, is that the whole thing at the Democratic National Convention, how they refused to allow a Palestinian speaker, who, by the way, the Palestinian speaker wanted to endorse Kamala Harris, which is a huge, I mean, that's a huge concession. No Palestinian should be, endorsing Kamala Harris for obvious reasons. But
with all due respect, yeah, they shouldn't. They should be like completely neutral. No Palestinian should ever back any of these fucking assholes after what they've done.
Yeah, but even though this Palestinian speaker was gonna endorse Kamala Harris, they would not allow her to give a speech at the Democratic convention. That tells you how anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab Democrats are. The only reason, again, she was going to endorse, in her speech, she was endorsing Kamala Harris. Wouldn't they want another endorsement? Wouldn't they want, especially when there is such anger and opposition from the Palestinian and Arab and Muslim community against what Biden and Kamala Harris are doing and enabling this genocide? Wouldn't they want someone from the Arab, Palestinian, Muslim community to give a speech endorsing them? But just because of the fact that she's a Palestinian, they would not allow her to give a speech. That tells you everything.
That tells you everything you need to know about them. It tells you that they're big fucking anti-Palestinian fucking bigots. That's what it is. You just right then and there, you can see it right then and there that they are fucking bigots against Palestinians and Arabs in general. Like, you can just tell it right then and there.
Yep. And next time they want to tell you, oh, we're for inclusion, we're for diversity. Really? You're for inclusion and diversity? You have this Palestinian, Arab, Muslim woman who's there to give a speech. A speech that's in favor of you guys, too. Not even against you guys. Yep. And nope, not welcome just because Palestinian.
Yep, just because of that. Oh, my God. Or, oh, my God, could you imagine if some Republican did that? Oh, man. Oh, my God. Could you imagine that one? Could you imagine the reaction from them? Oh, man. Could you imagine what they would do? Oh,
honestly, man. I could see, as much as the Republicans are even more vocally Zionist than the Democrats are, I could actually see the Republicans actually letting. Now, it would be really insane for a Palestinian spokesperson, person to endorse Trump. I don't think that would ever happen. But in some bizarro world where, that happened, I could actually see the Republicans allowing them to speak because they're so opportunistic. Hey, why not? This is another speaker. This will boost our support.
Totally, yeah.
And even though they hate Palestinians and they're ultra Zionist, I think, they look at it like, okay, well, they want to endorse me. Why not? We'll take it. It's a boost. It's a win for us. I could see the funny thing is, I bet the Republicans would actually, if it was a Palestinian who wanted to endorse Trump, I bet they would allow them.
Oh yeah,
they probably want to vet the speech first and make sure they don't criticize Israel at all.
Oh yeah,
but
it's brownie points. It's like it's brownie points for me, right? Oh yeah, it's brownie points for me. Yeah, oh, brownie points for me. Oh, no problem.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, he's 100% right, dude. He's 100% right. Yeah, people in the comments are like, oh, I agree with everything you guys are saying and everything. It's like this is blowing up real quick. Well, blowing up in a good way.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm seeing the comments. I'm seeing Scotty Boy. Yep, appreciate that, Scotty Boy. Who else?
Yeah,
Space Voyager. Yep, good to see everyone in the chat. I remember to like the stream and remember to like the stream and share this out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Subscribe to Zach's channel and my channel as well.
Absolutely. Yep, and his channel as well. Yeah, this is fun to do. This is fun to do. I'm glad we're getting to do this. I knew there was going to be some. I knew there was going to be some way to try to do this, but. So I wanted to. One thing I wanted to ask: how do you know Artero? Do you only know him on? I mean, him and I are cool now and everything, but do you know him on here, or have you ever met him in person?
I've never met him in person because he's all the way in Alaska. I became Facebook friends with him a few years back, and we've been Facebook friends since. And we started to get sort of like how we got in contact because you did it after the expose against Spanky, as he's called.
Yeah,
expose.
Caleb Martin. Yeah.
Yeah. He put out a video in support of the members of the group exposing Caleb. And from there, I got in more contact with him and more actively in contact with him. That was, when that happened, I really saw, who was really engaged and who was really, like yourself, really had a moral compass and, who were really good people. A lot of people who I was sort of in contact with when that happened, they came out and put out statements in support against Maupin, and that was really good to see. And from that, I got in more close contact with a lot of people like Arturo after that. But yeah, since then, Facebook friends and on YouTube.
Yeah. And him and I have been, him and I have been cool and have agreed on most things, with the exception of this. But I think at this point, I think it's pretty much all water under the bridge between him and I now. I think we're fine.
I think you guys are on the same page even on this because you don't support.
No, I don't support Zionists.
Yeah.
I don't support fucking Zionists.
So like
what I'll do from now on. Yeah. What I'll do from now on, I'll just give credit where credit is due, maybe on some things or say something like that. But I don't think I should be outright just being like, oh yeah, this one's good because the Democrat's bad, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. I'm not going to go down that path. It's just not. It's not what I'm about anyway, It's not what I'm about anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I have some traditional positions, I have some, and it's like Arturo and I are similar in some ways, like him and I are, well, a lot of ways. He says he's socially conservative on some issues. I am too. I have my principles as well, but yeah, I can't support some Republican because one Democrat's bad or whatever, vice versa. It's like, nah, I just don't think it's just because it's not what my channel's about. It's not what my channel specializes in. Maybe back in the day I used to do that, but I can't, that's not what I'm about. Like I woke up to the two-party system and I'm not going to back anybody out of it. It's that simple.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a good way of looking at it is not to support any Democrat or Republican, and if they want you to support them, they have to earn your vote. Like, okay, if a Democrat comes out or a Republican comes out and starts saying we need to end all aid to Israel, and they're not simultaneously pushing some other nefarious crap, then that would be an instance where I could say, okay, this is
yeah, exactly.
But I don't see anyone, and I don't foresee any politician really doing that.
Yep, and support single-payer health care, like no more of this, like tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires and that type of stuff. Not that type of stuff, that they have to be doing it for the right reasons. And I don't see that from Kamala Harris, and I think people really need to wake up to that whole thing. And trust me, I don't think Tim Walz is that way either. I don't think he's like that either. I don't think any of them are. Like, I don't think any of them are about that, because I don't think they're all of a sudden good because the other side, whatever. No, I don't think that.
Yeah. And the Democrats and Republicans, they're parties of the capitalist class, the ruling class. So they are going to be hostile to working class interests, and working class interests are, economic, unionization, fighting for, you know, better working conditions, better pay, stuff like that. And also ending the wars, opposing Zionism, all that stuff.
All of
Those
it.
are the working class interests, and the Democrats and the Republicans,
Yeah.
they are they are the counter to that. They are the opposition to that. They will sometimes, both sides will
Yeah.
sometimes try to mouth rhetoric to try and hijack, because they have to get, because most Americans are, most of the country is working class. That's, you know, it's the 99% versus the 1%. So they have to
Yeah.
try and placate. So the Democrats will talk about, you know, various rhetoric about, they'll say, oh, Trump is a billionaire, blah, 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 which is true, he is. But then again, the Democrats, loads of them are billionaires and they're backed by billionaires. So then the Republicans will talk about, they'll use scapegoating of immigrants and stuff like that. They'll, what else do they do? I don't even know what else but they try to generate like a fake populism.
Yeah,
to
fake
try
populism. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they both try and generate fake appeals to the working class to say, oh, I'm better than the other party, but in reality, both of them just represent the enemies of the working class.
Yeah, fake promises and empty promises and broken promises of that. That's always what it came down to with these two. Always what it came down to. And the other thing too, it's like, and then you do see so-called progressive channels that are defending the fucking Democrats now, and it's completely ridiculous. Like I know you and I were like watching the Vanguard for a while, but just look at them now. They are openly shilling for the Democrats now. And I remember these two fucking murder apologists, which I did that video on. They're now on board defending. They are now defending the Democrats and mocking the idea that they're just like the Republicans. Literally doing that. I have literally seen them on Twitter do this. I'm just like, I could just like, what?
I haven't seen them do that. If they are, that's really ridiculous. And that's,
no, I have. Oh no, I have. I actually saw it earlier today, or maybe the tweet was from a couple days ago. Oh, they've been doing it. They've been doing it for a long time now. That's why I got away from them altogether. I don't have nothing to do with them. No, I got nothing to do with them, especially after that fucking low that they took earlier this year. But then they just got worse after that. Then they just got worse, and they just start shilling, and then they just started shilling for the Democrats again. And
well, I thought that they don't support Biden or Harris. Are they supporting them now?
No, they're supporting Harris. They're acting like Tim Walz is this great progressive, and well, basically what they're doing is by default they are mocking the idea. They are bitching and moaning at the idea, like, oh, the Democrats are just like the Republicans. That's not true. Oh, it most absolutely is.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did appreciate from them is that I saw a number of videos where they're kind of taking Jimmy Dore and people like that down a peg, which is good. But if they're doing that, well, then they're basically then they're basically then they're basically doing the same thing that Jimmy Dore does, where they're through cover trying to manufacture consent for one of the two parties, which is unfortunate because I think they identify as like anarchist or something, and it's like, if you're an anarchist, like, you're supposed to be more radical than Marxist, Leninist, communist stuff, allegedly, but you're an anarchist and you're supporting the Democrats. How does that make any sense?
Yeah, how does that work? Or acting like, oh, that's not true that the Democrats are just like the Republicans. That's not true. And that's what they're acting like. And then whenever anyone says that against them, then they've been fucking smearing everybody. I wonder why they haven't been saying anything against me. I wonder why that is. Well, I wonder why that is. Haven't said anything against me. They've only been saying stuff about smaller channels, but not me. I'm not that big of a channel. I mean, yeah, it's grown, but I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. If you could post some of that, or if you could pull up some of that stuff, Do you think you'd be able to pull some of that up? We could go over it. That'd be good because you're doing your screen share, right? Are you able to?
Yeah, let me. I made the screen a little bit bigger. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna try this. Let me see if I can actually do this.
Okay.
Screen sharing is easiest within 2 monitors. Share screen. Yeah. Blah 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 blah. Blah. I already know how to do that stuff. All right, let's go to it. I'll pull it up here and let's see. We'll take a look at some of the stuff here. If they haven't blocked me already. I'm surprised they haven't. I'm gonna try to pull up some of the stuff here. Let's see. All right. I'll try to. Let's share the. I'll share it and we can go over some of it. Hoping that this works and doesn't try to fuck up the whole thing. Oh, it's this one right here. It's this one right here. See right here. Notice how they're acting like the Republicans and the Democrats are the same. No, notice this. See how disingenuous this fucking thing is.
Let me see. I can't hear anything. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, he's got the capitals in lowercase. The Republicans and Democrats are the same. Well, I mean, yeah, they're not the same. They're different. But are you trying to imply that the Democrats are better? Because I mean, they're not. So that's, when you're pulling this up.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. That's the only thing I can interpret. Yeah, it's the only thing I can interpret.
Yeah, that's not a good sign. It doesn't seem like that's necessarily. I mean, I don't know if they're I don't necessarily think that's them endorsing, supporting Biden or Harris. I'll have to keep an eye out now that you raised this. I'll be suspicious and keep an eye out for that. See if I see stuff of them doing that. But
I've been seeing it.
As you brought this up, I thought of another thing. It was another interview that came to mind that I definitely wanted to address because I think you had addressed it in regard to the Vanguard. I don't know if I think you had. I could be mistaken, but that video with Jill Stein and Mehdi Hassan.
Yeah, something like that.
You know what I'm talking about? Where there's the controversy about Putin supposedly being a war criminal. I think you.
Oh yeah. Oh, I did.
Or it's somewhere on there. I think I saw it. It's on their channel. But you know what I'm talking about, where Mehdi Hassan was like, "Oh, you're willing to call Netanyahu a war criminal. How come you're not willing to call Putin a war criminal?" Have you seen this?
Yes, that one. Yeah, I know exactly the one you're talking about now, bro. Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, I know exactly the one you're talking about. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and to Mehdi Hassan's credit, I had seen some good stuff with him. He's very good on, exposing the Zionists. He did a good job exposing Matt Taibbi, who I used to think Matt Taibbi was good, but about a year ago or so, Matt Taibbi was basically doing propaganda for Elon Musk, and he was trying to act, and the whole Jimmy Dore sphere were like doing this propaganda for Elon Musk, and it's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I was very I haven't been too
so
happy
I was
with
glad
Matt
to see.
Taibbi.
I was glad to see Mehdi Hassan do that. But then in this interview with Mehdi Hassan and Jill Stein, he asks, for the audience watching, if they're not aware of what we're talking about, he asks, Jill Stein, oh, how come you're so quick to call Netanyahu a war criminal, but why won't you condemn Putin as a war criminal? And then Jill Stein says, oh, well, we did condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And then he says, why won't you call him a war criminal? And she kind of I don't know, she doesn't really give a good answer, like a very direct answer. And so a lot of people are saying, oh, Jill Stein, she's a Russian propagandist. She's a Putin apologist. She's blah, 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 blah. What I would have said right there, and I'm critical of Putin. I'm not a fan of Putin. Especially a lot of the stuff they're promoting, I'm not a fan of Putin. Nonetheless, I would have said, really, if I was in Jill Stein's position, I would have said to Mehdi Hassan, really, you're going to compare Putin to Netanyahu? Like, you could say what you will about Putin. He has done nothing in comparison to what Netanyahu is doing. Netanyahu is carrying out a genocide, number one. Number two, Netanyahu is fully backed by our government. Putin is not backed by our government. In fact, our government is actively opposing Putin and giving weapons to Ukraine. So you're going to try and make a false equivalency of war crimes between Putin and Netanyahu? That's outrageous. And you should be embarrassed for even trying to make that comparison. I would have said that.
Yeah, and Assad too, and all that other bullshit. It's like, yeah, no, I mean, the biggest critique I have of Putin as of late, of course, is the Russia's ties to Israel, and I'm like, I don't like that. Same thing, the kind of the same thing I say about China too. It's like, why would they be aligned? Why would they have ties with the Zionist regime? It doesn't make sense. Like, they shouldn't.
It's like my criticisms of Russia. It's like nothing. Like, I could see like some liberal talking about, yeah, I hate Putin, and then I'd be like, yeah, I'm not a fan of Putin, and then they'd start saying why they don't like Putin, and then I would say, actually, no, those things you're criticizing Putin for, actually, those things aren't so bad about him. The reasons I don't like him are actually things that you would actually probably like him for. The things that I don't like Putin for, you would actually probably like Putin for. My criticisms of him are his how he promotes anti-communism in the country, like he promotes lies about Lenin and the Soviets. His relations with Israel. In fact, they just recently, I saw on RT, I think yesterday, they put out a statement on RT, official Russian government statement of like 40-something countries that Russia has declared hostile promoters of neoliberalism. 40-something countries. Out of all of these countries, not one of them is Israel. So they have the time to label like random countries like Japan, Italy, all these random small countries as hostile to Russia, but they don't consider Israel as a hostile negative force. What's the matter with them?
Like, the fuck? It's like, the fuck? And especially considering that Israel is aligned with the fucking with the fucking gym teacher looking dumbass running Ukraine. Like,
that's right. And they're supposedly completely at odds in Syria because Russia's backing the Assad government and Israel is supposedly against Assad, and Israel's constantly bombing Syria, but Russia allows them to get out, lets them do that basically without using the S-300s, S-400s, whatever. So it makes no sense. And then on top of that, these idiots, because what they want to do is they want to pander to the right. They say, oh, neoliberal countries, and then like the cover photo, the picture associated with the articles, like some protest, some like transgender protest. So really, your issue with these countries is transgender? Like, what's the matter with you guys?
But that's nothing to do with fucking
it's so blatant.
Zionism did.
It's so blatant, so like what they're trying to do. They're trying to pander to the right, and they're trying to get like right wingers in the West to say, hey, we're on your side, guys. You should support us. And that's not going to work. What Russia's issue, and that's a complete transgender has nothing to do with neoliberalism. Neoliberalism is the economics of Ayn Rand, Milton Friedman, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton. It's the more extreme capitalism, austerity, privatization,
exactly.
Gutting of social programs and government programs and stuff like that, and getting everything
Corporate
through private
bullshit.
corporations. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
cortocracy, oligarchic fucking dog shit. But
some
it's like,
people with
why do that?
some
Yeah,
people
I
with
agree with you. But
transgender signs, that has nothing to do with neoliberalism. And Russia's problem with these countries is not because they're friendly to transgender. The Russia's problems with these countries is that they're backing Ukraine. So it's like, it's so idiotic what the propaganda outlets are doing, because it has nothing to do with what Russia's actual issues are. And furthermore, they don't consider Israel, which is committing an act of genocide and is aligned with and is against Russia. They don't consider Israel to be a hostile force. They've got the time to list dozens and dozens of countries. Can't include Israel for some reason.
Can't include them, but they can include some random places. Like they can include the fucking Bahamas. They can include Singapore or whatever, but they can't include Israel. It's like, come on, President Putin. It's like, come on, you're so much better than this. I think he has more potential than this, but it's like, why can't you do that one thing? And more importantly, I do have respect for RT in a lot of ways, and a lot of the work that they've done has been really good over the years. But I think some of that stuff is really, really silly, and I'm gonna call that out. But yeah, those fucking two parties, dude, are just ridiculous. I agree with you, Rhodes. You're definitely right about that. Yeah, you're definitely right about that, dude. Man, this thing has come out excellent. I'm glad.
Oh, I was on mute. I didn't realize I was on mute. I was saying, yeah, I agree with. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, yeah. No, yeah, that's right. I saw Rose comments, tired of the same empty promises from both parties. Yeah, exactly. And the only things that we know they will do are bad things, the opposite of what we want them to do. But it's good we got into Russia now, because that brings up the Ukraine situation. I don't know if you remember my channel. If you go back to my channel, my videos from 2022, I was saying, oh, Russia's winning. Russia's going to win.
Oh,
yeah.
Media's
lying about
I
that.
do.
You'll notice I haven't done any videos on the Ukraine situation since 2022, because I was correct when I was saying that at that time Russia was winning. But then by fall 2022, things took a bad turn for Russia. Russia got pushed back from a number of territories, which wasn't supposed to happen. The pro-Russia community was saying, oh, this war is going to be over soon. It's going to be... I remember some of them were saying, like prominent ones. I'm not talking about some random person writing a comment. I'm talking about prominent, some of the big commentators, pro-Russia commentators that are promoted heavily, were saying, oh, this is going to be done it's going to be finished conclusively in Russia's favor by fall 2022. That wasn't the case.
I even knew then it wasn't going to happen. I knew this war was going to go, this operation was going to go on for quite some time. So I don't think it's kind of disingenuous to act like, oh, they're going to go in, they'll be done in like 60 days or something. It's just kind of not the case.
Yeah. And it's like these same people, it's like anything, they're literally a broken record. Like people like, especially, what was that? Douglas, who is it? Is Douglas McGregor?
Oh yeah, Douglas McGregor, Scott Ritter.
Yeah, I think it's. Let me just double check. Yeah, Douglas McGregor. Is this the guy I'm talking about? Oh yeah, this guy. So first of all, I think the reason why a lot of people listen to him, because he's a general. And when he talks, he sort of fits the part. He seems like, oh, he's a military man. He knows what he's talking about. He's an expert, and he's from the military, and this is a tough guy. You could tell by how he looks and how he talks. He knows his military stuff. But you go to his channel. I screenshotted this. I don't know, it was like a year ago or something. It's like video after video after video. The same type of headline, clickbait garbage. Ukraine on the verge of complete collapse. Russia is annihilating Ukraine. Yeah. Ukraine is going to be defeated. Imminent collapse of Ukraine. and like years have passed since he's done video after video saying the same thing, broken record. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, that hasn't been the case, and you haven't been embarrassed by this. You haven't changed your tune. You're still saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, I don't agree with him on that, even though I have agreed with a lot of the things he said about that with regards to that. I mean, there may have been a few other things too. I mean, I've watched him from time to time. I don't think he's bad or anything, but I just don't think that that's very genuine to act like, oh yeah, that they're doing this, they're winning. And by the way, have you're familiar with Danny Haifong, right? Because I'm a big, I really like Danny Haifong's channel. I don't know if you've ever seen him. I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Danny Haifong. Honestly, he's in the same camp. I would say he has these same people on who do the same thing.
I was gonna say, because I noticed I really do like Danny Haifong. To his credit, he's done a lot of good stuff and everything, but I do notice he does make the same titles, like they're on the verge of, like, it's like they're on the verge of desecration. Blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's really like at this point, like, okay, 2022, I was saying it, and it looked like it in 2022, but it's like at this point where the war is still going for almost 3 years now, they haven't stopped and thought, maybe there's something a little off about this. Maybe I should change my tune a little bit. Not obviously not to support Ukraine. Obviously, that's not what we're talking about. But to basically say, wait a minute, maybe we should be a little bit more critical and not just cheerleading and acting like everything is going perfectly well. And the funny thing is that actually Russian media, if you see Russian media in English, if you're able, or Russian media in Russian, like what Russians actually watch, if you find it with English subtitles, you could actually see a totally, like, they're actually very angry and talking about how, no, this isn't going according to schedule. And it isn't going according to plan. This is going very badly. And they're very careful not to blame Putin. They're very careful to blame, corrupt military, corrupt, bureaucrats and stuff like that. They don't blame Putin. They blame, like, various, they see it as people, corrupt lower level people and bureaucrats and stuff who have screwed it up.
Yeah.
And some of them will say it's because they're not the Soviet Union anymore. And that's that's the crux of the problem. The problem is that Russia has had a lot of incompetence in this, is because they're not the Soviet Union. And Russia has really declined since the overthrow of the Soviet Union. It's horrible.
Like they're better being the Soviet Union. That's the thing. It's like they shouldn't have turned to capitalism, There's that one thing. So my point here is that the Russians themselves actually are being more honest about this. It's just that English language people in the West kind of fall for this gullible stuff. Like, oh yeah, Russia's about to win. And it's like, okay, they've been about to win every day for the past 3 years now, 2.5, 3 years almost now. And I think, honestly, a lot of these bigger channels that do this, I don't think maybe they are stupid, I don't know, but I think on some level they know what they're doing. They, Russell Texas Bentley, the American in Donbass, he unfortunately was killed a few months ago, I believe. Are you familiar with this guy, Russell Texas Bentley? The name sounds familiar, but I don't know if I've ever watched him before.
He was calling this out, and he was saying how these people, they just say what people want to hear. They're not telling the truth about the situation. And he was 100% against the Ukrainian government, in support of the Russian military and Donbass and all that. And he was saying how these people, he specifically pointed to Scott Ritter. He was very angry at Scott Ritter. And he was saying how these people, they've been saying the exact same thing, like a broken record, and they know that it's not true. They're just saying what people want to hear. So, and now I think it's gotten to a point that's so bad now. Again, I don't want to make it seem as though, oh, this proves Ukraine is about to, conquer Moscow.
Oh, no,
obviously not.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. My position is similar too.
The Kursk situation. Now we're at that point where it's like, wait a minute, Russia's getting invaded by Ukraine now, and it's not just like a little incursion, and not just for a few days. It's over a month now, how does this make sense that, Ukraine is on the verge of collapse? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's some things. And I haven't been too happy with Scott Ritter especially the one thing Scott Ritter did to this one journalist, Caitlin Johnston. I think she does work for Consortium News, which you and I are both big fans of. And I think she's Australian and works for Consortium News and maybe a few others. But I noticed Scott Ritter was saying some disingenuous things. I think they got into some back and forth or whatever. And I don't remember specifically what it was about, but I just remember that. I was like, okay, yeah, this is not a very good look for you, Scott. Like, I don't know. That's not a very good look. I do remember seeing that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really, there's this sort of echo chamber again. And it's annoying because if you have any critical thinking, you're able to tell that this stuff it's not true. It's not based in reality.
Exactly. Which is unfortunate, yeah.
And anytime anything bad happens for Russia, whenever Ukraine actually has some successes, they have this copy and paste broken record response, which is, this just proves Ukraine is losing, when it's actually like the situation in Kursk right now.
Yeah.
They say like, this proves that Ukraine is losing and it's desperate. Really? Them taking territory, taking prisoners, all of this proves that Ukraine is like, it's like the most insane, desperate cope.
Yeah. And the thing is, no one here is ever we're not defending Ukraine at all. Just because we have some mild critiques of Russia is in no way, shape, or form. We are not backing the Nazi gym teacher in fucking Ukraine. Absolutely not. We'll never do that. But no, I mean, we have some, we have some critiques about, we will have some critiques about Russia here and there. I mean, of course we're going to do that. Like, it's called having critical thinking skills, yo.
Yeah, that's right. We don't back I wouldn't even call it Ukraine because, I mean, just shorthand, we call it Ukraine, but to show just how much I do not support Ukraine, I wouldn't even call the Ukrainian government Ukraine. It's the Kyiv regime backed by NATO. It's a puppet regime.
I like that. That's why I call Zelensky the fucking gym teacher president, because he looks like a fucking gym teacher the way he's dressed. He's such a fucking retarded clown. Him going out there with this big fucking gym teacher outfit, going out there. He looks like a fucking moron. Oh, he looks so stupid. I'm gonna mock the shit out of him day in and day out. Oh, I will.
Yeah. Yep. And the comparison between the situation in Ukraine and Palestine really exposed the hypocrisy of the West, because it's like, a big country is invading a small country, right?
Where we've seen that before.
A nuclear power is attacking another country, killing civilians, all the stuff that they say. Yep. Ukraine, we have to give them all the weapons to fight back because Russia's is so much stronger. But follow that logic. Now in Palestine, Israel is a nuclear power, right? And by that logic, why isn't the U.S. and has the Palestinians, Hamas, they have, it's a guerrilla force. Doesn't have an air force, doesn't have tanks, doesn't have military, navy, right? So by that logic, the U.S. should be giving arms to Palestinians, right? But they're not.
Yeah, by that logic.
It just completely exposed the hypocrisy and the war crimes. And that's the funny thing too. They were all saying, Putin is he's a war criminal. He's a war criminal. Okay, they want to say Putin's a war criminal. Then Netanyahu is like 100 times a war criminal, because the amount of people killed, mostly children, and this not only that, but the statements of the Israeli government to back it up, the genocidal intent, not just that they're doing it, but they also have the genocidal intent. You have the recordings of the Zionist soldiers, committing their crimes all on camera, them, recording themselves dancing like complete lunatic scumbags as they detonate entire apartments and entire blocks of houses and stuff, going into people's homes, acting like complete idiots, like laughing and smashing everything inside the home, torturing Palestinians.
Worthless.
All kinds
worthless
of stuff.
Waste of fucking oxygen. Yeah.
Completely fully admitted by them. Okay, so you want to say Putin is a war criminal? You better be 100 times more vehemently going after Israel for being war criminals. But of course not. They support the war crimes. And this is completely exposed all of these people.
Yeah.
Beyond any shadow of a doubt.
There's several people in my family, at least, that have done that. Especially my grandfather has been. I've been telling my grandparents a lot about it, because actually they're really interested in my political views. And my grandfather, over the past year or so, woke up to this whole thing about Israel and has been saying over and over again about how much he fucking hates Netanyahu and thinks he's a butcher. In fact, just the other day, my grandfather was actually saying that Yemen was going in and retaliating against Israel and acting like that's a good thing. So I saw that and I was like, wow, this is really good. Pretty good, huh? I think you had to go do something.
Yeah, and that's a lot of credit to Yemen for that. I actually have a video. The last video I uploaded to my channel is about connected to Yemen from the 1980s. Yasser Arafat visiting North Yemen and getting support from Yemen, the PLO training camp in Yemen. And yeah, Yemen has a strong history of resistance to Zionism and imperialism and the imperialist Zionist puppet, the criminal, corrupt regime of Saudi Arabia as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, them too. Yep, U.S.-backed fucking terror. Yep, absolutely. Yemen I have so much respect for. I have so much respect for Yemen. I mean, Lebanon, too. Lebanon I have mad respect for as well, for what they're doing also. I have mad respect for them. Respect for them, too.
Although I do have to, as far as Lebanon, so with Lebanon, I mean, obviously the Lebanese people have fought against Zionism. And
I love those. Those people are awesome.
But when it comes to Hezbollah, I think Hezbollah, they're not like the I think there has to be a distinction from the Palestinian resistance, because Hezbollah, it's a Shia sectarian political organization, and if you look at what they've done, I think they're kind of exposed. I think before October 7th, they had more credibility in resisting Zionism, but the fact that they've done so little to aid the Palestinians, I think it kind of exposes them, because they have they have more capacity than Hamas does. Hezbollah has significant military capacity, bigger than Hamas. And Hamas was able to pull off what they did on October 7th. They kicked Israel's ass. I mean, that's the thing. They want to talk about, how horrible October 7th was, and you can't praise it. You can't say, you can't, anyone who dares, praise it or anything, they'll be, it's just, they will try and destroy anyone who has anything positive to say about it. But that's because, and they want to make it like about, there's all these debunked stories that came out. Even the families of Israelis, who are, by the way, right-wing Israelis too, have come out and said that the stories told about mass rapes are lies and that it's not true. And these are even
Oh
Israelis who have
yeah.
come out and said this. So they've come up with all of this stuff to try and demonize the Palestinian resistance because they know how much of a humiliating defeat Israel faced on October 7th. And despite how horrible everything is now, we should never lose sight of what the Palestinian resistance did to Israel on October 7th. Remember, that border of Gaza is the most militarized border in the world. It's supposed to have the best military equipment, weaponry, surveillance, backed up by billions and not to their own credit. They don't deserve any credit. They can't do anything on their own. It's given to them by billions and billions of your tax dollars, my tax dollars, the viewers in the chat right now. Our tax dollars gave Israel all that stuff, billions and billions of dollars. And still, the Israelis are such pussies that they got their asses kicked by a bunch of guerrilla fighters with Kalashnikov rifles and RPGs. And that is why they are so angry at Hamas and so devastated by October 7th. And that's why they came up with all these fake stories. It's because they realize how weak they really are. That's what terrifies them.
Oh yeah, 100%. By the way, I think Richard Medhurst has done really good work on this. By the way, I've seen you on Richard Medhurst's show before. He's really good.
I gotta get back on there. It's been a while. I was on in 2020. That was actually the first channel I ever went on a live stream, and that was really great.
Yeah, Richard Medhurst is he's really good. I mean, I imagine you're still a fan.
Yeah,
I mean,
we still follow each other and subscribe to each other. We have disagreements. I think he's pretty pro-Iran. I'm not pro-Iran at all, but we're still respectful and supportive of one another.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, he's really good in what he does. I just can't believe the shit that happened to him getting what the fucking UK regime did to him.
Yeah, UK is on as bad as the US is in censoring. In Europe, the UK and Germany and France, but I think I've heard the most stuff from Germany and Nazi Germany. That's what we should call them because that's what they really are, Nazi Germany. And you can't say that in Germany, unfortunately. So since we're in the US, we could get away with calling them Nazis because that's what they are.
Yeah.
But the UK and Nazi Germany, they've been really the worst in attacking people's freedom of speech.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
absolutely.
going back to the thing with Hezbollah in Lebanon, they really could have done a lot more to fight against Israel. Especially keep in mind, I did some posts about this on my channel in the community tab. Keep in mind how off balance Israel was after October 7th. They got their butts kicked. They didn't know what to do. They had to get reorganized and gear up to carry out an onslaught. Can you imagine if at that point, from the north, from Lebanon, that group, I'm not going to say their name anymore. I probably shouldn't have even said their name, but everyone knows who we're talking about. That group in Lebanon decided to attack Israel. Israel would be screwed. A two-front war, not to mention the fact that that group in Lebanon has even more capacity than the group in Gaza has. But they didn't. And I think the reason why they didn't is because they aren't really a legitimate resistance group. I think that they are an Iranian proxy. And the reason I say that is because if you look at other instances where they've intervened, like in Syria, for example, they were willing to go full on in Syria to kill people in Syria. But why is that? But when it comes to fighting Israel, so when you're going into Syria and you're going to be fighting, killing other Arabs and Muslims, you're willing to go all in for that. But when it comes to fight against Israel, you're not willing to go all in for that. Why is that? And I think I think that really has exposed them, to be honest.
Oh, I think so,
I would like to hope that they will, because on one hand, even though they are backed by Iran and they share the ideology of Iran, and they are a Shia sectarian organization, they are Lebanese Arabs, and at a certain point, Israel wants to steal Lebanese territory. So there's going to there's going to come a point where they're going to have to say, okay, are we going to put our country first, or are we going to put the interests of Iran first? And a lot of people say, and this is something we could get into, Iran. I actually need to do a video exposing the scam of Iran. Iran is not really interested in fighting against Israel, and they've worked with Israel pretty consistently on the big issues. They've worked with Israel, actually, which is things that a lot of people don't know about or don't want to talk about. But I think I've talked to you about it before. I think you're aware of some of this stuff.
Yeah, some of the critiques and whatnot. Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with that.
Yeah, so like the biggest thing was going back to the Iran-Iraq War, and so I don't know. Do you think we should get into this history or go in depth into this? Or
yeah, I'm
what do
down.
you think? Okay.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down for it. I mean, I've got till about 10:30 to do this, so we can absolutely, yeah, we can continue. I'm down with that.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so before the Iranian Revolution, of course, the Shah, he was a U.S.-backed dictator. He was very bad, very brutal, very Zionist, very imperialist. He would, when there were uprisings in the Arab world, like in Oman and Yemen, he sent forces to fight against them on behalf of the U.S. and the British and the Zionists and the Saudis. So he was very bad. But then he was overthrown by Khomeini. And Khomeini was ostensibly anti-US, anti-Israel. But behind the scenes, he actually was backed by the US. And very much, with the US, it's a bit more complicated because it was more limited. But with Israel, he was fully backed by Israel, like heavily backed by Israel. And people don't know this. And this is admitted by a lot of mainstream sources. We'll get into it. There's even a guy on CNN who wrote a book recently. He was even talking about this. This is on record. This isn't some crazy, conspiracy theory that, anti-Iranian, anti-Shia, anti-Persian, people came up with. This is like 100% on record. You could even go to Wikipedia, shitty as Wikipedia is, they even have an article, the Iranian role in the Israeli role in the Iran-Iraq War, and it's well sourced. You could find all of this. Israel fully backed Iran in its war against Iraq, and the reason was that Iraq was the strongest Arab country. It was the most revolutionary Arab country. It was socialist. It was backing the Palestinians the most. And they wanted to destroy Iraq because they knew Iraq was a powerhouse and the biggest threat to Zionism and imperialism. So they backed Khomeini. Oh, and there's a lie that Saddam Hussein started the Iran-Iraq War. That's not true. Saddam wanted to avoid it. He actually praised the Iranian Revolution. He wanted to be allies with Iran against Zionism and the West. But Khomeini was a sectarian extremist who wanted to overthrow Saddam and put in a sectarian because Iraq has Sunnis and Shias and Christians. He wanted it to be a Shia exclusive regime, and you can't do that. You need to have, all of the religious groups have equal rights in the country, and that's what the Baathists and Saddam were doing. And so he wanted to, and there are holy sites in Iraq as well, of particular significance. The Shias consider it as even more significant. So they wanted control of these holy sites. They wanted control of Iraq overall. They wanted to overthrow Saddam. And this was perfect for the Israelis and the U.S. And Saddam repeatedly tried to negotiate with Iran. Before Iraq, quote-unquote, invaded Iran, Iran was doing aggressions on the border, trying to assassinate Iraqi politicians. And the Iraqis and Saddam were trying to negotiate with them through the non-aligned movement and the UN, and Khomeini refused everything. And then finally, the last straw, they blocked the Iraqi waterway, the Shatt al-Arab waterway, and then that's when Iraq responded with military force to try and force the Iranians to come to the negotiating table. They refused. They continued the war for 8 years, fully backed by Israel. And they were defeated. The Iranians were defeated. It ended with the final operations of the war. With the complete collapse of the Iranian military, they couldn't fight any further, and that's why they finally stopped the war. They finally agreed to negotiate.
Oh yeah.
So that could be viewed very
Oh
much
yeah.
as Iran operating as a proxy on behalf of Zionism to try and attack the Arab nationalist, anti-Zionist forces led by Saddam at the time.
Which is really unfortunate for them to do that.
Yeah, and it was devastating for both countries, especially for Iran. They lost a lot more because they were the aggressor, and it was crazy what they're doing. They were sending literal human waves to try and conquer Iraq, and they would fail. They'd get gunned down by the Iraqi defenders. It's true Iraq used chemical weapons, but that was defensive because they were literally sending mass waves. So the Iraqis used chemical weapons because they were running out of ammunition. The Iraqis didn't want the war to happen, but they had to defend themselves. So they did use chemical weapons defensively, and the Iranians and the Iranians, they would just get slaughtered on the battlefield, and then instead of saying, okay, we can't conquer Iraq, let's negotiate, they'll say, all right, we're trying again. And then the same thing happened. They get slaughtered. They maybe conquer a little bit of territory, then they get pushed back. They try and attack again, get slaughtered, and just keep going and keep going and keep going, and for nothing. They ended up unable to conquer Iraq in the end, and Khomeini actually admitted that signing the peace treaty with Iraq was equivalent to a defeat. And I think he said that he...
Oh, yeah, it just happened again and again and again.
I think he even said, he described it as drinking from a poisoned chalice, him signing the peace, ending the war with Iraq. So if anyone tries to claim that Iraq didn't win or that Iran didn't lose, Khomeini himself admitted that it was the equivalent of drinking from a poisoned chalice. So I don't think that's pretty strong words, an admission that it ended badly for his side. But then people could say, oh, that was the 1980s. That was a long time ago. Now Iran is against Israel. Well, there's been a lot more. The Iraq War, the U.S. invasion of Iraq, George Bush. The U.S. Iran made that possible because the U.S. when the U.S. got in and overthrew Saddam and overthrew the government, they needed local puppets. Who did the U.S. take as the local puppets? These were Iranian proxies who were Iraqi nationality, but they were traitors to the country. They were puppets of Iran who had been working for Iran for decades, and they're Khomeini supporters of Khomeini. And then the U.S. took them and put them in power in the country, and worked with them and used them as proxies. So the Iranian people ideologically aligned with Iran decided to support the U.S. If Iran is so anti-imperialist, wouldn't they do the opposite? Wouldn't they maybe ally with Saddam to fight against the U.S.? No, they allied with the U.S. to fight against Saddam in 2003 and in the subsequent years since then. Then in the later years during Obama, you had the rise of ISIS. And a lot of people point out how ISIS is a U.S. proxy. I mean, it's definitely true that ISIS wouldn't have existed if it weren't for the U.S. invasion. The U.S. basically created ISIS. But if ISIS is a U.S. proxy, then Iran is even more so because the U.S. worked with Iran directly in the fight against ISIS. And also, there were other groups mixed in there. There were legitimate Iraqi resistance groups like various Ba'athist and Sunni-led resistance groups. And they lumped them all in with ISIS, even though a lot of these groups had fought against ISIS. Oh, yeah. They fought against the U.S., fought against Iran, fought against ISIS. These were true patriots who were fighting for their country. And because of the war against ISIS, they all got lumped in together and they carried out, massacres against them. And brutal as ISIS was, these Shia sectarian groups, like the Badr organization, they were massacring Iraqi Sunnis under the guise of fight against ISIS. It was horrible, and this is all in alliance with the U.S. So that was during Bush and Obama, pretty recent, not as far back as the 80s. Also in Afghanistan, people talk about Qasem Soleimani as some anti-imperialist hero. He was very involved in working with the U.S. in Iraq. But also in Afghanistan. When the U.S. invaded Afghanistan in 2001, Iran helped the U.S. invade Afghanistan and overthrow the Taliban. You could look up the Battle of Herat, Afghanistan, Herat, I believe, the Battle of Herat, Afghanistan. Iran helped the U.S. invade Afghanistan. So the two major wars that the U.S. had since 9/11, Iran played a significant role in helping the U.S. In both of those cases. So that's
Yeah,
very,
I've heard.
yeah, that tells you a lot about Iran. And then you look at what's been happening recently with, this latest iteration. That little retaliation that Iran supposedly did, firing those missiles at Israel, that was all for show. It did, first they sent drones as like a warning. The drones took forever to get there, basically saying, okay, guys, we're going to send the missiles, so get ready, right? They send the drones first, which take forever to get there. They shoot those down, and then they fire their missiles, and it does hardly any damage. They put out fake videos, including Iranian government Twitter pages put out fake videos trying to show the
Which is pretty
supposed
bizarre.
massive. Yeah, they're trying to show the supposed massive damage that their missiles did to Israel. One of the videos put out by an Iranian government Twitter page literally showed a fire in the United States, a forest fire at night, so you couldn't really tell what was going on. You just see flames in the darkness off in the distance at night. And they posted that as if this was from them firing missiles at Israel. So it was pathetic. They didn't kill any Israeli military. I think the only person that was killed was one Palestinian Arab girl in so-called Israel. And that was it. And this was their supposed big retaliation. Yeah. Mind you, this was in response to them taking out an IRGC general and a bunch of other people at the consulate or embassy or whatever in Damascus. So their supposed retaliation is to fire a bunch of missiles that do basically nothing. I mean, this, I think, is just shows me that Iran is not actually an anti-Zionist force. And the reason why both the Iranians and the Israelis try to say that they're enemies is because they each need a boogeyman to perpetuate each other. For Israel, who do they have to say is the big boogeyman? They could point to Hamas, right? But yeah. Hamas is just an insurgent group. Israel has nuclear weapons, military, billions of dollars, from the U.S. every year. They need some, they took out, Nasser is gone in Egypt. Syria made peace with Israel, basically, even though they claim to be against Israel. They negotiated away the Golan Heights. Saddam was taken out. Iraq is destroyed. Who is the Soviet Union doesn't exist? Who is the big boogeyman to justify all of this militarism by the U.S. and Israel backing up, the Israeli government? Well, they need a boogeyman, whether it's real or not, and that boogeyman is Iran, even though Iran has collaborated with them and has done practically nothing to fight against them.
Which is unfortunate because, they should be better than this.
Yeah, but that's a long. I know I said a lot there. What are your thoughts on all of that?
No, I mean I didn't really know I didn't know that much about it until you told me about it. I mean I knew there were problems with I knew there were problems with Iran on some fronts or whatever, but yeah, that is really disappointing to hear how Iran should, they should be a real force against isn't real, which is what I like to call Israel. I like to call Israel isn't real because they're not real. I like to call but that they should put their money where their mouth is. Or they should put their money and all their equipment. They should put it where their mouth is. That's what they should do. And all that. That's what I think of it. That's my biggest takeaway from all that is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. They claim to want to, fight Israel and everything. Fight isn't real, but like, why would you secretly collab with them? It doesn't make sense. But I don't know if this might not. I don't know, but I wanted to talk about the DPRK a little bit. I mean, because I mean, are they aligned with Iran at all? Is the DPRK aligned with like, or maybe like they have their own reason for it? So I mean, I'm not too sure. You'd have to like refresh my memory on that. And I do have mad respect for the DPRK as a revolutionary socialist. I do.
Yeah, the DPRK does have close relations with Iran. And this is a very interesting topic, and from my perspective, a very unfortunate topic because, so let's go back to, take it back a little bit to the 1970s before the Iran-Iraq War. Iran-Iraq War started in 1980. In the 1970s, so Iraq became Ba'athist in 1968. Saddam Hussein became the president in 1979, but throughout the 70s, he was the vice president and a very prominent figure in the country. He was well known internationally as a revolutionary and one of the leaders of Iraq, even before he technically became the president. And at this period in the 70s, the DPRK, North Korea, and Iraq had very close relations. There's even quotes of Kim Il-sung praising the Ba'ath Party and Iraq. They had very good relations. But in the later 70s, and this is a topic I haven't actually talked about much. I need to do another video on Baathism. My previous video on Baathism doesn't go into this depth, but this is very interesting. In the later well, I addressed this a little bit, I think, but not nearly in the depth that it needs to be. In the later 70s, the relations with the Iraqi Communist Party and the Ba'ath Party deteriorated. They were previously allied, but in the late 70s, they deteriorated to a point in which the Communist Party broke relations with the government and became basically opposed to the government. And when that happened, I think a number of other, because Iraq was socialist at this point and allied with the Soviet Union, a number of socialist countries became suspicious of Iraq, I think, at this point. And I think because there's precedence in the Arab world, like look at Egypt, for example. Egypt was socialist, anti-imperialist, aligned with the Soviet Union and the socialist camp during the time of Nasser. And then you had this new leader come in, Anwar Sadat, who basically flipped, betrayed the Arab cause, betrayed everything, made peace with Israel, allied with the U.S.
Yeah, complete piece of shit. Yeah.
Completely flipped.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think, and that had happened a little bit earlier. So I think they were weary that that could have happened in Iraq. That never happened. But I think they were weary that that could happen. And so a number of countries, particularly in the Arab world, South Yemen, it became particularly pronounced. South Yemen had a Marxist-Leninist government. They became hostile to Iraq. They referred to Iraq as a fascist regime, which is nonsense. There's,
yeah, that is.
So there was some suspicion, and all these socialist countries, Marxist-Leninist countries, are allies and communicate with each other. So I think there was some. Even though the DPRK never criticized Iraq or anything like that, I think there was some stuff going around in this, like gossip, you could say, kind of like how there's gossip between, people. I think there was maybe there was sort of gossip going around, and then there was the revolution in Iran, 1979, and Iran is a big, major U.S. proxy in the region. So the fact that it's overthrown is, from the socialist camp, is looked at as great, and the socialist camp wanted to get in there and have influence and ally with Iran, even though Khomeini is anti-communist. But
he was willing to work with them.
What's that?
But willing to work with them.
Yeah, they were still trying to see if they could make an alliance with him. And the DPRK was like the only socialist country which actually was able to pull it off. They got good relations with Iran, and that's good for them, because the DPRK, the whole policy of self-reliance, particularly on the issue of oil, a country based on its geography and the resources under its ground, you can't, there are certain limitations, like you need to get oil for your country. And so with
Right.
the policy of self-reliance is you don't necessarily want to rely solely on the Soviet Union or some country. So if you can diversify that, that's very good for you to pursue self-reliance. And so I think from that perspective, they looked at Iran as an important potential ally because they can get oil from Iran and therefore be more independent in terms of its policies. And so they did that. And when the Iran-Iraq War happened, the Iran-Iraq War broke out, the DPRK unfortunately backed Iran in that because they wanted to pursue this policy. And when that happened, Iraq actually broke all relations with the DPRK. And now the DPRK, even though it supported Iran, they weren't like Khomeini to the extent that they weren't calling for the overthrow of Iraq. Actually, quite the opposite. The DPRK actually tried to negotiate peace between Iran and Iraq because DPRK understood that the war was negative and it only served to further Zionism and imperialism. So to their credit, even though they mistakenly supported Iran in that war, they did try to make peace, but it was a futile effort because the Iranians obviously didn't want to negotiate. So that's sort of the background, I think, how they got to the point where they were allied with Iran. And to this day, they have close relations with Iran. Even though, funny enough, North Korea, DPRK supported Iran, but also South Korea also supported Iran. So Iran didn't really care about North Korea. North Korea didn't really care about. Iran didn't really care one way or the other about North Korea, South Korea. But to this day, they have good relations, and I don't really fault. I mean, I think when push, especially now when Iraq there isn't really there are resistance groups, but there isn't like a tangible force that the DPRK could support as opposed to Iran. So I don't really fault them for having good relations with Iran. They're in a difficult situation, and they're gonna try to ally with whoever they can to defend themselves. Similar to Venezuela, a lot of times people point to Venezuela having good relations with Iran and then say, wait, you're saying Iran is imperialist and Zionist. Why does Venezuela have good relations with them? Well, I have a very good counterpoint to that, which is Venezuela has also excellent relations with Turkey, which is bizarre. Even years ago, there's like pictures of
I've been wondering about that. Yeah, what's up with that?
Erdogan and Maduro and Turkish flags and Venezuelan flags. They're on a personal level very close, and Turkey's a member of NATO, right? And Turkey's doing everything it's doing in Syria.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, bro. I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I was just gonna say that. That's bizarre that is so bizarre for them to back Turkey when Turkey is aligned with fucking NATO, and you see Turkey hostile to Syria when Venezuela is very aligned with Syria. So that's bizarre.
Yeah. And also now, since the October 7th, Erdogan, he'll blabber a lot, but he's sending fuel via Azerbaijan. He's sending it to Israel. He's sending them all kinds of resources, despite his talk. He's really backing Israel behind the scenes. So I look at it similar to that. Venezuela, I don't fault them for doing that. They're in a difficult situation, and they, if they could make a deal with a country, to further their interests, to, fight against and defend themselves against the economic war. But that doesn't mean
they have their own reasons. Yeah, they have their own reasons for doing that.
And are people going to try and claim Turkey is anti-imperialist because of that? No, it's just states doing things that are in their interests, and it can align in certain ways. But that doesn't mean that by default, if a socialist country or an anti-imperialist country has relations with another country, doesn't automatically make them anti-imperialist, and it doesn't mean that they can't be doing things behind the scenes in the service of imperialism and Zionism. I think that's a very good example. Is the Turkey Venezuela point, is that just because a country like the DPRK has good relations with Iran, or other countries have good relations with Iran, doesn't automatically mean that Iran isn't collaborating with the Zionism and imperialism.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. They're doing it for their own reason, especially considering Venezuela is under economic warfare by the fucking U.S. empire, especially trying to overthrow Maduro and trying to recognize the opponent. And even though Maduro legitimately won that election with an amount that literally most U.S. presidents and most U.S. governors usually win elections with, like 51% and all that. Yeah, but then but they still try to act like he was rigging the election or rigging this and that. And it's all because they want to overthrow Maduro. They want to overthrow the Bolivarian government in Venezuela so they can put a right-wing fucking coup government that is subservient to Zionism, subservient to the U.S. empire and to Western interests. That's all it is. And that's how it always was. I mean, remember, the same Venezuelan opposition is in bed with Zionism. They literally said that our fight is Israel's fight. So does that
oh yeah,
you?
yeah, and they're so big on human. They're so big on human rights, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they're so big on human rights, and the only reason they don't like Maduro is because he's harming human rights. You know, that's the only reason they don't like Maduro, right? That's why they're so close with Israel, which isn't violating anyone's human rights. You know, they've never committed a genocide. They've never, you know.
Oh, I know, right? You anti-Semite for saying that. Oh my God, there's that one true democracy in the Middle East. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, that type of thing. Sitting there acting like that, and the big, I always throw this to the side too. The same, isn't it funny how how they try to act like, gay rights and whatnot, and how they hate gay people and they want to throw gay people in jail and all that. Well, isn't that funny? Or you got like the Marco Rubios of the world, the Ron DeSantis of the world, that literally don't even believe that gays should be allowed to marry or have kids or anything. It's like they're opposed to rights for gay people, but then they act like Venezuela's the dictatorship. Oh, you gotta love it. Oh, don't you just love that one? Oh,
yeah,
man, I love
that's
that.
Right. And you know what else is funny about that? Most of these politicians who are so vehemently outspoken against like LGBT and stuff, they themselves are like closet that. That's the funniest part about it. And it's always hilarious when one of them gets outed.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But it's like, I just love how they act like they are against, they act like Cuba and Venezuela and all these other countries are bad on human rights, or they're dictatorship, communist hail dictators. And then meanwhile, they're like, oh, yeah, no, we don't believe in gay marriage. Gays shouldn't be allowed to marry, have kids or whatever. It's like, oh, okay. So you're not the dictator? You don't believe, you're not violating the rights of minorities, doing this your own way? Oh, real? Oh, gotta love it. Gotta love the double standards. The double standards up in that bitch. Oh, the double standards is just so lovely. Oh, what's up, Arturo? I see him. He's in the chat. Yeah, Flame of Liberation. I had a great conversation here.
Hey, good to see you, Arturo. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're hitting a lot of these topics. Since Arturo's here, maybe we should talk about China a little bit. That's another topic we haven't talked about.
Oh yeah.
Now,
by the way, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I meant to ask you. About this. Are you still on good terms with Dust James?
Oh yeah, I am. I'm not sure. Arturo, I think, may have issues with him. I'm still very good with Dust James. Yeah,
he's a nice guy. Him and Alex Suarez. I mean, I know I've had Alex Suarez on my show a few times. He's cool with me too.
Yeah.
And
no, Dust
Jamar
James
is the other guy.
No, Dust James, I think he's come to a lot of very good positions. He pushes back on, while rejecting the liberalism, he also rejects this sort of MAGA communism bullshit that we're seeing within the so-called left of these people, promoting this very reactionary garbage and pandering to and supporting these right-wing Republicans and stuff. He's really done a lot to expose that kind of stuff and push back against that kind of stuff very strongly. And it's good because a lot of it is this sort of these types of people, they have sort of a caricature of the white working class, especially rural white working class people. And he is literally a truck driver from a rural area in the South, and he pushes back and exposes stuff for what it is, which is really good. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that from him.
Yeah, I
But
like
yeah,
that
as far
too.
as China,
Yeah, I like.
that's
Yeah, we can get into that.
yeah, I see Arturo writing in the comments, Dust James is okay, but he pushes a Southern agenda. I don't know what you mean by that, because he's totally against the Confederacy. And when that song came out that Midwest Marx was praising, that Richmond, north of Richmond, which is a neo-Confederate dog whistle garbage song that came out like last year. Dust James
Yeah,
strongly pushed against that, and we actually did a video together exposing that. So he's very much against all the neo-Confederate crap, and is
yeah,
able to spot it very easily, because he's
yeah.
in,
That
he's very aware of he's in the South, so he's very good at spotting that kind of stuff and debunking it.
yeah, that's true too. Yeah, yeah, that's very true too. And yeah, I can't even stomach Midwest Marks anymore. I
Oh
can't
yeah,
stomach him anymore. He's such a
and
fucking sellout.
I saw that coming from. I noticed it like at least a year ago. They were going in this direction, and now they've just gone to the most extreme. Like it's like completely mask off at this point, and it's like it's sad because they think that they're gonna gain views and clicks and stuff, but what they're not realizing is that the audience of the types of grifters that they're associating with are like
yeah,
90% bots. They tried to have a little meeting of what was it, some Free America something or other, like back in June or something, and it was like, I don't
something like
know,
that.
hardly any people showed up compared to the amount of followers that the speakers had, like millions of
Right?
followers. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, wait a minute. I thought you had millions of followers. You don't even have
Yeah,
100 people in the room. And they were initially charging people to go to this to get tickets, and then like no one was going, so they like frantically like, oh no, you could come for free now. It's free now, guys. You guys can, like that's how. So Midwest Marks thinks by
yeah, I can't stomach
associating
them.
they think by associating with these people that have big online audiences, supposedly they're going to grow, but they're going to wait. They're eventually going to realize that these supposed big audiences they have are completely artificial and completely
I
like
know.
bots and stuff, and that they're going to realize that they've embarrassed themselves and destroyed their reputation for nothing, basically.
What a
It's
shame.
pretty
Him and
unfortunate.
Haas. Yeah, it's like I can't stomach these channels, and anyone was afraid I was ever going to go down that path. Oh no, no, never. Me, never. I may give credit where credit is due. Sometimes I might have taken it a little bit too in this direction, and I know I admit I shouldn't have done that, but other than that, no, I will. No, the Midwest Marks, the fucking Haas, the Jackson Hinkle, these fucking right wing opportunists. There's no way, no way. I mean, no way. Whatever. Not going down that path. No, not going down that path. No, never, ever, ever is this channel ever going to go in that direction of them. Ever. not as long as I'm alive. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's very good, and yeah, that's why I said, when uh, I saw that video you put out before. I know you're not a grifter. I know you're definitely legit, and everyone could make, I could make, anyone could make mistake, and the important thing is to correct it, and that's all that's the best that anyone can do, and that's good, and that's actually much better than these grifters, because all they do is ever make mistakes, and they never admit that they were wrong, and they never.
Yeah, never apologize. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they do. That's what they do, man. They never apologize for anything. It's
Yep.
almost as if it's. Sorry, I was just grabbing my dinner because I was really hungry.
Yeah, no problem.
But anyway, they can never admit that they're wrong, ever, on anything. They just can't.
Yep.
And that's the most ridiculous part about it. That they're so up their own ass that they can't even admit it.
Yep, and it's so unfair. Like, okay, if you're gonna be an arrogant piece of shit, at least be pretty good at something, so that, okay, you should never be arrogant, even if you are pretty good. Even if you are really good, you should never be arrogant. But like, okay, if
Nope.
someone is like really brilliant, okay, you could understand why they might be a little arrogant, but these people have no reason whatsoever to be arrogant. They have no reason to be arrogant at all.
No.
It's the most pathetic thing to see. Like, why in the world would you be? What do you have to be arrogant about? You know, these
But
people.
what would others have to be jealous about you about? And even like with me, I mean, everyone says how good I, you know, stuff like that. And it's just like, oh, I appreciate all the feedback I get. But the thing is like, I'm not a perfect human being. I don't have special skills. You know, I'm human just like everybody else. You know, I'm not going to sit here and act like, yeah, these people have nothing to show for it. Nothing.
Yeah. Yep.
Nothing to ever show for it.
And it's really suspicious. Some of these people have weird links. Like Jackson Hinkle, for example, he was connected with Tulsi Gabbard. And Tulsi Gabbard, who's a member of the military-industrial complex, now has come out as an open, like, extremist Zionist
Fucking piece of shit. I can't fucking stomach her no more. I was so big on her. Just like her, RFK Jr., all these opportunists. I used to be fans of them. I can't stomach them anymore. They're fucking sellouts.
Yeah, I was never a fan of RFK Jr. because he was really, the anti-vax stuff is, okay, I could see being skeptical of the COVID vaccine when it first came out. And if someone's anti-vax, I don't see that as like a deal killer. You know, I think it's incorrect, but I'm not going to like go crazy over it. But that was never something that I thought was, and it's a bit of a red flag. Because usually if they're that way, there's other things that they're weird on. So I was never really, and he wasn't really saying anything that I found that great, like particularly anti-imperialist or anything. But I was very sympathetic to Tulsi Gabbard in like 2018, 2019. But something that should have really alerted people early on was during the Democratic primary in 2020. When she dropped out, she's supposedly so anti-establishment and everything. When she dropped out, she didn't endorse Bernie Sanders. She endorsed Biden, immediately endorsed Biden.
Fucking Biden, yeah.
Which is hilarious now because now she wants to pretend like she's right-wing anti-establishment when she then was like supporting not even Bernie Sanders, who is not good enough, like far from good enough, but at least somewhat better than Biden. And between those choices, she supported Biden. And a lot of people let her off. Like, I remember I noticed something was off about Jimmy Dore at this point. I was still very pro Jimmy Dore. It was a while before I realized, or before Jimmy Dore went really, really bad. Yeah. But I noticed something was off with him here because he was railing against Bernie Sanders. But Tulsi Gabbard was let off the hook for that. Like, didn't, like
yeah, that
just
was
let
very
that go.
Suspicious.
It's like,
wait, that was one of the big
she
things
endorsed
I was critical
Biden. Yeah.
And won't say anything about her. That's ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah, there's a whole list of these people that are sort of like this left-right alliance grift. You got Tulsi Gabbard, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they're all basically right-wing. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's not left-right, but there's these leftists or weird. They might not even identify, like post-leftists, I guess you could say, former leftists, who are like supporting them. You've got like Tulsi Gabbard, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Fucker.
What's that?
I call him Fucker Carlson.
Yeah. What's that guy? Russell Brand? The British guy? Is that Russell Brand? Him?
Yeah, I've been disappointed with him too as of late. I haven't liked the direction he's been going in either.
Joe Rogan, RFK Jr., all these fake anti-establishment people.
Joe Rogan was fucking doing cheerleading for he was doing cheerleading for fucking Israel at one point. Him, who else? I'm trying to think of names here. Blah 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 blah.
Oh, him in particular. He'll switch sides to whatever is convenient. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she'll always be a Zionist, but I could see Joe Rogan like switching sides depending on what he thinks will be, convenient at the time.
Yeah, but he's too opportunist at times, and it's disappointing.
Oh, that he's total. That's his whole thing.
Yeah, his whole thing is about being a big opportunist and everything else.
Oh, speaking of opportunists, did you see that whole thing with Tim Pool and all those people who got caught taking, money from I mean, here's the thing. It's okay. They want to make a big deal about it because it's Russia, but look at all the stuff, like what the Zionists are doing, I'm sure is way more like they want to make a big deal because it's Russia. I wanted to say,
but yeah, I was big on Tim Pool for a while, but dude, he is so fucking Tim Pool has been such a fucking idiot when it's come to fucking Israel. Oh my God, fucking like Tim Pool tries to act like he doesn't like both sides or whatever, but then there's him being more critical of Palestine than about fucking Israel. It's like, dude, okay, it is official. We know what you're doing. Okay, Tim, we know what side you're on.
He's a big time Zionist, shame. But even on the Ukraine thing, he's such a person with no morals whatsoever, just complete scammer, complete grifter with no principles, no morals whatsoever, that he was saying, so they gave him the money and then he started saying whatever they wanted to hear. He literally on a stream was like shouting vehemently with all of his heart, Ukraine is our enemy. They are horrible. They are America's enemy. Okay. Then when he got exposed for taking the money, he put a Ukrainian flag in his Twitter handle. And he started doing some anti-Russia posts.
Israel flag. What a fucking moron.
So that just shows how he believes in nothing. He'll just take the money from whoever is. That was really interesting when that got exposed.
I mean, I've gotten a few laughs out of him before, and I mean, I think he's terrible at fucking policy. He has no policy positions. It's like, dude, don't you understand that Israel is committing a genocide? And you're going to sit there and act like, and he's posting these like fake stories about all pro-Palestinian. But basically, a typical Tim Pool video is pro-Palestinian protesters are setting a Jewish building on fire or some shit. Some stupid shit. Oh my God! Now you got to admit that's a good Tim Pool impression. It's like here on the Timcast, Israel is, I don't understand what this Israel derangement syndrome is about. It's like, the fuck is wrong with you, you fucker? You're supposed to be the anti-war guy, and you're over here acting like Palestine all bad, but Israel, you have nothing to say about it. He doesn't even admit it either.
This is a repeated pattern we've seen with these right-wing grifters. Like whenever they try and act like they're anti-establishment or, against, the proxy war in Ukraine, it always comes out that they're grifting scumbags who don't believe in anything. And that if they'll only say that if they're getting money to say it. And then once they get exposed for taking the money for that, they'll start saying the opposite and start talking about how much they hate Russia and how much they love Ukraine because they believe in nothing.
No, there's certain people that just, I've even seen other right-wingers criticize. It's pretty funny. It's just like, Tim Pool is so, dude, remember, it was so ridiculous. I remember Aaron Mate was on here, and like, I don't know what other people think, but I have a lot of respect I still do have a lot of respect for the Gray Zone. I think they do great work and everything. But
I think the difference between them, the Gray Zone, at least they do journalism. So I give them credit for that, and they exposed a lot of the Zionist propaganda. I think Aaron Mate, he defends Jimmy Dore and some of these right-left grifters too much, but I do still give Gray Zone credit for their journalism.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, dude, it's so funny how like Aaron Mate and Max Blumenthal both, they were on there at separate times. So they put Tim Pool in his fucking place. Like they schooled him big time. It was really funny. It was really funny to see. I got a big kick out of that. I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe the.
What was it about? On Israel, Palestine, or something else?
Oh yeah, no, it was. Aaron Mate schooled the fuck out of him. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, Arturo. He basically, he basically was like, oh yeah, because Tim Pool was acting like the Israel derangement syndrome is still a thing. Really? Being against a fucking genocide is having derangement syndrome? Fuck you, fucking prick.
Yeah, that
You know what?
tells you everything everything you need to know about him.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I think that fucking beanie on his head has gotten to his fucking brain cells. In all honesty.
Yeah, there's something in that. There's something. Yeah, there's something going on there.
Dude, it makes no sense. But I mean, I'm just saying, you got. It's ridiculous, dude. It's just I can't believe. Just like everything, every one of these right wing opportunist channels, all these people that are just like, oh, they're so ridiculous. They're so, and they're all the same shit. They're all the same shit. And if they're not about this, they're about this one. If not, then they're about fucking sniffing Trump's ass. Or then they're about this. I can't with them, man.
Yeah, and you know, I got one of these people commenting on one of my, I think that old video I did last year, Cornel West exposes Jimmy Dore. I got one of these Jimmy Dore fans who probably supports Tim Pool and Tulsi Gabbard and all these kinds of right-wing people commenting. And I think this is a good thing. I wanted to make sure to discuss this with you and to bring this up, sort of answering this and debunking this point that they make sometimes. They say, like if I criticize left-right alliance, or if I criticize, you know, right-wing grifters and stuff, they'll immediately come back and say, oh, you're one of those socialists that wants to be in an echo chamber and you want to write people off if they're right-wing or Republican. And they go back to what Jimmy Dore said during that interview he did with that guy from, I think, World Socialist Web after he interviewed the Boogaloo Boys guy. Jimmy Dore said, oh, when you're organizing a union, you don't ask who's a Republican, who's a NRA member, who's a gun owner, who's this, that, and the other, and say, okay, you're out. Okay, that's totally disingenuous, because a union is specific to organizing the working class, number one. Number two, union members, these people are individuals. They're not YouTube personalities or grifters making money off of this. There's a difference between working with someone who's like a regular person for a common goal.
I mean, that's what I do. Like, that's what I do on this channel.
Yeah. Or trying to win people over. Like, just because someone is, you know, a Trump supporter, like a regular working class Trump supporter, that doesn't mean that you write them off. Of course not. You should try and speak with them and try and win them over and explain why supporting Trump is wrong. So these Jimmy Dore types, they try and say, oh, you want to be in an echo chamber. We need to unite as many people, blah, blah, blah. It's totally disingenuous, because they're changing completely what we're talking about. What I'm talking about is not promoting grifters and Trump and political parties and politicians and stuff. I'm not saying that you can. I'm not saying that you write off everyone who is, you know, a Trump voter. That's not at all what I'm saying. I think you have to win those people over as well. So that's, I think, important to address that, because I saw that comment that someone left on my video, and I think that needs to be addressed, because they think by making that point they're so smart, but in reality they have no idea what they're talking about.
Oh yeah, they really don't.
Because they think they're going to get me to say, they foolishly think I'm going to say, oh, every Trump supporter is a fascist, a Nazi. They think I'm going to get hysterical like a liberal or something, but that's not what my politics are. I believe in working class politics, and I believe that people who are working class can, you know, come to bed, you know, incorrect you know, positions, whether it be supporting Democrats or Republicans. And that doesn't mean you write them off. That means you have to explain why it's wrong and give an alternative that's, you know,
and let's help them out. Let's help them out. Let's work through it. Let's bring them together to actually fight the real establishment that's going on. Like, let's do it. Like, let's join hands and let's get that shit done.
That's right, and find
That's what
out
I'm
why.
about, man.
That's right, and find out why. Okay, you support Biden or you support Trump. Why is it that you support them? What is it about them that you think is good, or why you should support them? Then you find out what that is, and then you could explain
Mhm.
how this candidate actually isn't for that,
Yeah.
or this thing you're talking about is actually a distraction, or whatever it is. You go from there and you figure it out.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's just one of those things, you know.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that so many of these so-called independent media
I
platforms,
know.
have really become grifters. And the problem is that
It
they
really
look
is.
they look at it as a career rather than the original goal was to tell the truth and to be honest and to give a counter to the mainstream media. And the problem with the mainstream media is that it was all money based. It was all about generating profits and making money and preserving capitalism. But when
Yep.
you come into it thinking, okay, I'm going to start telling the truth, but then you start basing it on getting the money, then that means at a certain point you get to a point where you have the choice of telling the truth or trying to get the money. And when it comes down to that, you know which path you take, most of these people, they decide to go with the money rather than the truth.
Oh yeah, dude. It's fucking unbelievable. I just can't believe all these channels that just like it's like with Midwest Mark said that he's the biggest disappointment because I was really big fan of him at one point. Same with Haas and all these others. I was a big fan of them until they really showed their true colors, and I'm just like, why are you guys doing this? Like, why?
Yeah,
Like, I don't get it.
yeah. It's almost as if, so with the quote unquote MAGA communists, it's almost as if
Oh yeah,
it's like a twofold thing where they want to. It's a way of um, causing division and infighting within the left on one hand,
yeah,
and then it's also with generating a fake anti-establishment rhetoric for why people should vote for Trump. So it's really, if you think about it, whether it's deliberate or not, it's really in the service of the establishment, the political establishment, by backing
yeah. It
Trump
really is, man.
and
It really is.
trying to disrupt anti-imperialist forces. Like,
That's what I'm thinking.
did you see Haas and Jackson Hinkle a few months ago? They were invited to some university because they had like a lackey at that university, one of their members
Oh,
at the university who weaseled his way into the Palestine organizing there, and so he was able to pull the strings to get them to speak at an event. Because you remember last in the spring there was all the very strong student organizing for Palestine, so there was a lot of events on various campuses, and so there are various pro-Palestine speakers, and this guy was able to pull the strings to get Jackson, Hinkle, and Haas to speak. And when they showed up, the other organizers realized who these two were,
yeah.
and particularly Jackson, and they basically uninvited him. And then Haas went up to speak, and then he started denouncing the crowd and denouncing the pro-Palestine students, and causing a
What the
scene. And then one of the organizers had to get up and tell him basically, okay, can you please leave? And he got off the stage and looked like a complete idiot, a pathetic, sad
wow?
loser getting shooed off the stage.
Un,
But what they did there was basically, and then from then on, they started attacking the pro-Palestine students across the country, saying they're liberals, they're woke, they're SJ, whatever, bullshit jargon they try to say. And
what?
yeah, and so that shows you how they're trying to
Oh fuck them! Oh fuck them!
they're actively disrupting and trying to cause infighting and trying to discredit the people who are at the forefront
No,
in
no,
the U.S. Fighting against Zionism. So that's that shows you.
no. They're acting like Zionists. No, they're acting. No, 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 no. They're acting like Zionists themselves just by doing that. Just alone, just by them doing that, is just
Yep.
unacceptable to me. There's just no way. All right, since we're going a bit, I can go till 11. That's fine. I mean, I can go till then. That's perfectly okay. As
Okay.
long as,
What are some
I mean,
other
I do have my
topics you think we
graveyard
should?
shift at 12. I do have my graveyard shift at 12, but we can go
12
till, but we can,
12 a.m.?
yeah, 12 to 8 in the morning. I actually work.
Oh, wow.
At my job, I work in, well, I mean, I've been working in mental health for about, almost a decade. Well, actually, just about a decade now. And now I'm doing overnights, which I kind of like because I do not like waking up early. So I kind of like being, I don't know. Found the graveyard shift actually works a lot better for me.
Uh-huh. Was it the type of job where are you able to stream there, or you probably have a lot of things? Well, you'd think graveyard shift, you probably might have some downtime, but I don't know. Do you?
Yeah, I do. Like a lot of those videos I've recorded like from my car and stuff. Like I've done them from there. I've done plenty of them from out there.
That's cool.
I've done stuff I've done stuff like that. But like I think I'd be probably more comfortable doing them in my car because I never want people to, you never want the wrong ears that's only overhear you and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I do that, but it's one of those things. So yeah, other than that, I've got some time to do this for. But yeah, we're gonna talk about something about China. Arturo said.
Oh yeah, China's a good topic. I think connecting it. There was a lot of things that could be said about China. One thing I think, while I'm critical of China for totally different reasons than like what the mainstream media is critical of them for, I'm critical of them mainly for their lack of socialism, their relations with Zionism, being Israel's second biggest trading partner.
Oh yeah, that is so disappointing. I think it's treasonous for China to back Israel. It isn't real. That's I don't like that whatsoever. That is so bad for socialism and so bad for the cause. It's like, look, there's a lot of things China has done that has been good over the years, and they've been on the right side of history on a lot of things. I call out narratives against China and the fucking media and everything. But and I'll do that all day, every day. I'll do that any time of the week. But to sit there and defend Israel, or not even defend it, well, just having any type of relation with them, enable them is ridiculous.
Yeah. But while I'm critical of them, one thing that I'm I think is very important is to always be vigilant in opposing anti-China hysteria. Like especially the MAGA people, one of their big things is anti-China hysteria because they want a war with China. That's something. Even though I don't really think China is socialist. I don't think it's. They talk pro-China people. They always talk about multipolarity and all this stuff. I don't really buy that. I think China's very happy with the established order, and they talk about BRICS and Russia and China. They're gonna overthrow the Western world order. Honestly, if push came to shove, China would side with the U.S. Against Russia because, or maybe not so much side against Russia, but if they had to pick between their economic relations with Russia or economic relations with the U.S., they would pick the U.S. because their economic connections with the U.S. there's way more economic connections between the U.S. and China than there are between China and Russia. That's just a fact. And so this whole thing about BRICS is really overblown. The other thing about BRICS is, there's all these big economies. Well, really the two biggest ones are India and China. And India and China don't get along. And India in particular would rather ally with the West to contain China than ally with China against the West. And then you look at how India and China...
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just saying, I think Israel... Well, no, I think India is even more Zionist than China is.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Modi, in particular, yeah, that's like on another level. Oh. It's like ideological. Like, at least China, I don't think it's like ideologically like cares about Zionism. It's more so just selfishness and, furthering its own economic interests. With India, Modi is like ideologically has ideological affinity for Zionism.
Oh yeah, like fucking Viktor Orban in Hungary and all these like right wing leaders, like the fucking ruling party in Poland and so on. Which actually a friend of mine on here calls Poland Pissland. His name on here is Lord of Edge. Well, or at least on YouTube, his name is Lord of Edge.
Yeah, I wouldn't
That's pretty
insult
funny.
Poland. I wouldn't insult Poland as a country for sure, but I mean the government. Sure.
Oh no, it's
Yeah.
not to insult Poland. No, it's not to insult. Like I don't think he's doing it, and I'm not doing it. It's more or less we're just saying that about the right wing regime that's there for sure. That's
Yeah,
basically
true.
What on to. Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
good.
But no, China. Yeah, well, and BRICS. Again, it's really way overblown. The two main countries are India and China, and they aren't really allies. They're very weary of each other. So this and China doesn't want to really upend the global order the way that these BRICS enthusiasts want to make it out to be.
Yeah, there's definitely some opportunism that's there too for some of those people. Also, this is related to China too, but do you think Ben Norton on Geopolitical Economy Report? I mean, I like him. I think he does good stuff, but do you think he's what are your thoughts on him?
I think he's good. Yeah. No, I think Ben Norton's good. I think he falls. Most of these people, they fall into this thing about BRICS. They make BRICS more significant than it is, and I think they overplay like they say China's socialist and stuff. So I don't agree with them on that. But generally, I think Ben Norton is good overall. And when it comes to U.S. stuff, to his credit, he's pushed back a lot more than a lot of the other independent channels. Independent alt media figures. He's pushed back significantly against the right-left alliance grift, and he's done a lot to debunk all this quote-unquote anti-establishment, Trump being anti-establishment, all that nonsense. So no, I like Ben Norton.
He has done that. Yeah, to his credit, he has done really good on that. I mean, there's some others that have done good on it too. There are some too, like one of my favorites, Vanessa Beeley, I really like, does really good on this type of stuff. She's really good on calling out the Zionists. She's really good on that.
Oh, has she pushed back on the people saying Trump is anti-establishment, or?
Oh yeah, no, I've seen her do that. I've even seen Eva Bartlett do the same thing. I really like. Good.
I know they're very pro. I know they're very pro Assad. I used to be pro Assad, but at this point, I think Assad is honestly not good.
Yeah, I mean, I've given a lot of credit to Assad on a lot of things. I mean, I think he's very good on a lot of things, but I have noticed there were some kind of, some things. I mean, my main defense of him is against the chemical hoax and whatnot and all that other type of stuff. Like there's some stuff like that.
Yeah, there has been a lot of brutality against the Syrian people and what's going on in Syria. And if you look at the way he's fought against, the Syrians compared to how he hasn't fought against Israel, I mean, that's very telling. Again, similar to the group in Lebanon, Hezb.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It's similar to that. Yeah. And I think it's honestly, you look at the history, his father, Hafez al-Assad, again.
His father was a big his father was a big disappointment.
Yeah.
Was not happy.
And he was, again.
I mean, I think Bashar's a little bit better than him, but his father is not. No, I don't trust. No, his father wasn't good.
Yeah, he basically negotiated away the Golan Heights to Henry Kissinger. You could find pictures of him with Henry Kissinger and Nixon.
Unbelievable. I've seen pictures of that too. And then I remember there was this one picture from 77.
People like
That's ridiculous.
People like to say, Saddam met with Donald Rumsfeld. Well, okay, big deal, You know who else met with Donald Rumsfeld? Hafez al-Assad. You know who else met with
he did too.
You know who else met with Hafez al-Assad that Saddam never met with? George Bush Sr., Henry Kissinger, and Richard Nixon. So these same people that want to say, oh, Saddam Hussein met Donald Rumsfeld. Okay, well, at least he didn't meet George Bush Sr. or Henry Kissinger or Richard Nixon. But your guy, Hafez al-Assad, who you support, he met with all these people, and Donald Rumsfeld, who you have a huge issue with Saddam meeting with one time.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way,
he also met with fucking Bill Clinton and Bill Clinton too.
Oh,
sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there.
That's great too, right?
In '94. He met with them in '94. Ridiculous.
And by the way, when Donald Rumsfeld showed up, one of Saddam's government people, one of the Baathists, high up Baathists, like yelled at him and told him to get out of Iraq.
Yeah. Oh yeah, special. Oh yeah, this is. Yeah, that type of stuff. But yeah, man, I'm telling you, this has been a great conversation. Glad we got to do it.
Yeah, we should do this again. We should do this again in the future. I think we've.
Yeah,
it's great to be on. You know, I really enjoy your channel. You do great stuff. We've been, in contact with each other through, chat, YouTube chat in the past, but it's good that we finally were able to make this work.
Yeah, make it work on public. Yeah, in public and stuff. So yeah, this was great. All right, thanks for being on here, comrade. I'll invite you on another episode again soon.
Great, and look at that, we made it right to the 3-hour mark just perfectly.
Yeah, we sure did. All right, Thanks for being here, bro. I'll catch you in the next one.
Definitely. Have a good night.
Next time. You as well.